In the hushed tones of a world where myths and fairy tales intertwine, we embark on a journey to uncover the peaceful origins of one of the most beloved stories, Sleeping Beauty. Our path takes us through the corridors of time, exploring tales of enchanted slumber and magical awakenings that have transcended cultures and centuries, offering not just fantastical narratives but profound reflections on human nature and the mysteries of life itself. In the ancient lands of Greece, where myth was the fabric of social consciousness, we find one of the earliest precursors to our tale of Sleeping Beauty. The story of Endymion, a mortal shepherd much adored for his unparalleled beauty, casts the first shadow. Legend has it that Selene, the moon goddess, fell deeply in love with him. To preserve his youthful beauty, she coaxed him into an eternal slumber, where he remained forever suspended between wakefulness and dream, kissed by the gentle moonlight every night. Endymion's tale, serene in its portrayal of love transcending the bounds of time, served as a poetic metaphor for eternal youth and beauty. His sleep, peaceful and untouched by earthly disturbances, echoed through cultures as a quintessential portrayal of enchanted slumber. Traveling from the sunlit lands of ancient Greece to the shadowed forest kingdoms of Europe, we encounter the tale of Briar Rose, a maiden cursed to sleep until awakened by true love's kiss. While we often associate this narrative with the Brothers Grimm, the roots of Briar Rose dig deep into the loam of folklore, drawing inspiration from earlier stories. Take, for instance, the tale of Talia from Giambattista Basal's 17th century collection, the Pentamerone. Here, a piece of flax thrusts the young woman into a profound sleep, only to be awakened by the cries of her children. This enchanted dormancy is a narrative thread traceable to earlier Italian folk stories and Middle Eastern legends, such as the Arabian Nights. In these tales, magic and sleep coalesce, exploring themes both wondrous and moral, offering parables on fate, destiny, and the inescapable embrace of time. The Slavic folktale The Sleeping King, perhaps less known but equally entrancing, tells of a monarch who falls into a magical slumber, awaiting a future time when he can again take his place among men. Such tales, where rulers wait in repose until their kingdom needs them, echo with the cycle of divine kingship and restoration, a theme ever present in the fabric of myth. Venturing eastward to the resplendent civilizations of East Asia, we uncover a different flavor of mythical sleep with the story of Chuang-Tzu, an ancient Chinese philosopher. In his dream exploration, Chuang-Tzu ponders whether he is a man dreaming of a butterfly or a butterfly dreaming of being a man, a philosophical musing on the nature of reality and illusion, as gentle as the rustle of willow leaves at twilight. In the land of the pharaohs, the ancient Egyptians too spoke of a sleep from which one could awaken into divinity. Their tales, etched in the sacred texts found in the pyramids, narrate the god Osiris being ceremonially awoken by his consort, Isis, an allegory not just of rebirth, but of eternal resilience in the face of oblivion. From these myriad whispers of myth and legend, we see a common thread, a deep-seated understanding of life's transient beauty and the sleep that borders existence and eternity. As these stories made their way to the written word, losing and gaining elements, they shaped the narrative of Sleeping Beauty, crafting a gentle lullaby that entwines the transient with the eternal. In weaving together these narratives, we draw close to a tapestry rich with cultural aesthetics and societal constructs. It unfolds like a dream, where beings both mortal and divine lie in wait, and gentle awakenings promise revelation and renewal. Sleeping Beauty, in all her forms, softly implores us to uncover the sublime residing within the folds of time, to embrace the serene pauses, and to awaken rejuvenated, embraced by the whispering echoes of history. In the depths of Italy, during the early 17th century, Giambattista Basal penned a collection of tales known as the Pentamerone, one of which was The Sun, Moon, and Talia. Unlike the cozy bedtime stories we are familiar with today, these tales often ventured into the realm of the macabre and the moral. The Sun, Moon, and Talia, a darker precursor to the beloved Sleeping Beauty story, sets a stage rich with historical, cultural, and narrative significance. Talia, a beautiful maiden, is cursed at birth by learned astrologers who predict that a splinter of flax will be her demise. In an attempt to protect his daughter, Talia's father banishes flax and spinning from his household, hoping to avert the grim prophecy. Yet fate, as these early tales like to emphasize, is inexorable. While exploring, Talia encounters an old woman spinning flax. Curious and unaware of danger, Talia pricks her finger on the spindle, falling into an enchanted slumber. Her father, distraught and desperate, lays her in a grand room, abandoning the castle in grief, leaving Talia to her fate. For years, the castle stands silent, shrouded in mystery, with Talia lying undisturbed, her presence a secret to the world, until a wandering king on a hunting expedition discovers the entrancing beauty asleep in the forgotten palace. Captivated by her ethereal beauty, he attempts to awaken her, but failing to do so, he shamefully violates the sleeping princess. Basal's tale diverges sharply at this point from modern adaptations. Time passes and Talia gives birth to twins, a boy and a girl, while still under enchantment. The children, named Sun and Moon, suckle at her breasts, waking Talia from her deep slumber. The narrative takes a strange turn as Talia, bewildered by the presence of her children, and shocked at the sudden continuation of her life, is thrust into motherhood. Eventually, the king returns, filled with a mix of guilt and curiosity about the maiden and children he left behind. Their reunion, though unsettling in its origin, blossoms into love. However, the tale does not end here. The king's wife, the queen, learns of his transgressions and, driven by rage, orders the cook to prepare the children for a feast. The cook, a kind-hearted soul, hides the children and serves animals in their stead. Upon learning of this betrayal, the queen confronts Talia, intent on burning her alive. But before the flames could engulf Talia, the king arrives and justice is doled out. The queen faces retribution for her jealousy and cruelty, while Talia ascends to queenship, her children restored unharmed. Basal's Sun, Moon, and Talia offers readers a stark reflection of lifelike unpredictability, exploring themes of destiny violation, motherhood, and redemption. It starkly contrasts Disney's sanitization of Princess Aurora's tale, yet it offers a rich tapestry of early storytelling that shaped European literature. The historical context of Basil's work is steeped in traditional folk narratives, which often carried cautionary elements mixed with moral lessons. These tales were intended not merely for the delight of children, but often for communities, serving as a reflection of societal norms and anxieties. Further, Venetian and Neapolitan influences of Basil's era introduced thematic elements of dark humor and melodrama into storytelling, which mirrored the complexities of social strata and political intrigue of Italian courts. Basil's storytelling choices, including Talia's passive resumptions of consciousness and maternal role, highlight contrasting gender dynamics typical of the era. The harsher realities of the tale served as allegories for the unpredictable and often harsher streaks of real life. In modern adaptations, we evolutionarily recognize elements of Talia in the beloved Disney princesses, yet these adaptations only paint a fraction of the layered narrative tapestry woven by Basil. His work inspired the likes of Charles Perrault and the Brothers Grimm, who would further adapt and sanitize these tales. Eventually, these narratives would pass through the hands of filmmakers, novelists, and playwrights, each transforming them to fit the audience's palette of their time. The enduring legacy of tales like the Sun, Moon, and Talia lies in their flexibility and their foundational place in the bedrock of Western folk tradition. They teach us of olden fears and frailties, honesty about both human darkness and resilience, whilst making room for reinterpretation and imagination. In a time far removed from castle-bound bedrooms and prophecy-marked lives, the immortal words of Giambattista Basil continue to echo in literature halls, classrooms, and homes. They remind us ever pointedly that within every simple fable lies the potential for history and humanity to intertwine, crafting stories that guide us through life, even if they begin within the depths of a darkened castle room, where a young maiden lies dreaming, unaware of her pivotal role in folklore's vast narrative. Charles Perrault, a revered figure in the literary tapestry of 17th century France, stands as a symbolic bridge between the age-old oral traditions and the burgeoning literary culture of his time. His adaptations were not just simple retellings of well-worn fables, but ingenious reformulations that catered to the sophisticated tastes of the French aristocracy. Indeed, Perrault's most famous works are a testament to his ability to elegantly weave traditional narratives into the refined social and cultural fabric of Louis XV's court. One of the cornerstones of Perrault's genius lay in his ability to soften the oftentimes severe and cautionary themes inherent in traditional folklore. The raw stories, which had circulated for centuries as oral legends among the peasantry, frequently contained harsh lessons and unsettling conclusions. These folktales, with their straightforward depictions of human vice and virtue, were not particularly suited for the delicate sensibilities of the upper echelons of society during France's Grand Siècle. Perrault's approach involved a meticulous transformation of these tales, exchanging gritty realism for a more palatable and relatable elegance. This process is exemplified in his renowned collection, Histoires aux contes du temps passé avec des moralités, published in 1697. The tales included in this collection, such as Cinderella, or The Little Glass Slipper, Sleeping Beauty, and Little Red Riding Hood, exhibit Perrault's skill in reimagining traditional narratives through a lens that emphasized decorum and morality, aligning them with the ethos of a refined court. In adapting these tales, Perrault did not shy away from introducing new and iconic elements that would come to define the stories for subsequent generations. Take, for instance, the story of Cinderella, or Cendrillon, as it is affectionately known in French. The original versions of Cinderella echo tales of virtue rewarded and vice punished. However, Perrault's rendition introduces the charming details that would become emblematic: the iconic glass slipper, the magical fairy godmother, and the grand royal ball. Such embellishments both softened the original narrative and infused it with themes of grace and transformation that resonated with the court's preoccupation with belles manies, res of good manners and appearance. Perrault's Sleeping Beauty also underwent a profound transformation. In older narratives, the underlying story served a didactic purpose, often underscored by grim moral lessons. However, Perrault introduced a delicate dance between curses and gifts, enchantments, and awakenings which framed the story within an allegory of life's phases, a theme particularly attractive to the nobility who revelled in symbolic reflection of their own lives and dilemmas. The malevolent curse placed by the slighted fairy, the prolonged slumber, and the eventual awakening by a prince's kiss were all curated to evoke a sense of romantic idealism and optimism so befitting of the poised audiences of the Hall of Mirrors. An essential aspect of Perrault's adaptations involved the juxtaposition of character traits which mirrored the social hierarchy of his time. Heroic figures and antagonists often represented distinct societal roles, and by imbuing characters with vividly contrasting traits, Perrault captured the social dynamics that were ingrained in the minds of his aristocratic audience. In Little Red Riding Hood, the interplay between the innocent child and the cunning wolf underscores a moralistic tale warning of the dangers lurking beyond the watchful eye of society, an allegory for the perils of straying from virtue and prudence. Importantly, Perrault masterfully used language to imbue his tales with a softness and grace that appealed to the cultured sensibilities of his readers. His prose was flowing, harmonious, and adept at conjuring vivid imagery while maintaining the lightness and lyricism of a fairy tale. The carefully crafted morals at the end of each story reinforced the narrative lessons without offending the delicate tastes and refined intellects of his audience. Perrault's works were undeniably shaped by the Neoplatonic ideals prevalent in the court of Louis XV, where art and literature were often entwined with the pursuit of moral and aesthetic perfection. The Sun King's reign, characterized by a fascination with grandeur, beauty, and the classical ideals, provided a fertile ground for Perrault's stories to flourish. His tales, offering insights into human nature wrapped in the cloak of splendid fiction, mirrored the court's preoccupations with order, symmetry, and the ideal balance between reason and emotion. As much as these literary creations were designed for entertainment, they were also woven with subtle layers of instruction intended to edify the reader or listener. The virtues of patience, kindness, humility, and wisdom were elegantly threaded into the fabric of each narrative, conveying lessons that were all the more powerful for being discreetly embedded within captivating plots. This structural elegance ensured that Perrault's tales were not only delightful narratives, but also valuable compendiums of moral instruction, a dual purpose that was well appreciated in the vibrant intellectual environment of the 17th century French court. Ultimately, Perrault's adaptations represent a delicate balance between maintaining the integrity of traditional narratives and the artistic latitude to mold them into works that resonated deeply with a new, literate audience, one that was both entertained and educated, pleased and refined. Through his creative genius, Perrault ensured that these tales survived not only as stories, but as essential components of France's rich cultural heritage, echoing through time and continue to be treasured by audiences around the world. Perrault's tales, ever alive in the imaginations of the aristocracy and common folk alike, would expand beyond boundaries of his own era, affecting a cascade of derivative works across different cultures and epochs, imprinting the essence of timeless storytelling with an elegance that transcends geographical and temporal borders. His enduring legacy is a testament to the universal power of storytelling, how narratives can adapt, evolve, and find new life while retaining their core moral imperatives, an art form perfectly honed for peaceful reflection and the gentle lull of a timeless slumber. In a tranquil and serene grove, where the whispering winds carried tales older than time itself, lay a well-trodden path. This path, known to the village folk as the thorny path, wove through the dense forest where trees stood like ancient sentinels, their branches interlocking to form a vaulted ceiling of emerald leaves. In times long past, the thorny path had been a route for travelers seeking passage from one world to another, a symbolic journey through life's many trials. Yet, with the passage of time, the path had grown wild and untamed, surrounded by a hedge of thorny briars that twisted and curled as if attempting to guard its secrets. Among those secrets was the story of a cursed knight who had once traversed this very path. Lonely and forlorn, the knight had journeyed into the woods, burdened by the weight of a prophecy that foretold his inevitable destiny. Accompanied only by the rustle of leaves and the distant calls of forest creatures, he sought the wisdom of the ancient crone who resided deep within the heart of the forest. The brothers Grimm, in their collection of timeless tales, chronicled such legends with an unyielding pen. They wove the themes of fate and inevitability skillfully through their narratives, bringing to life the darker hues of stories softened by previous tellers. In their version of the tale, fate was a relentless weaver, threading the strands of time with a deft hand. The crone, a figure etched with the delicate lines of age and endowed with eyes like polished stones, welcomed the knight with a knowing smile. Her voice was like the rustle of leaves, carrying with it the wisdom of ages. "You are he who walks the thorny path," she began, her words echoing through the stillness of the grove. "And here upon this path, destiny awaits you. Tread lightly, for the thorns draw not just blood but dreams. Yet, despair not, for even the darkest path carries light at its end." With these words, the crone spoke of choices laid bare, of paths yet unwalked, and the shadows that lingered at the crossroads of one's life. Here, the blade's edge was fate, its keen sides slicing through the veils of hope and fear. The knight listened, the weight of his armor pressing into his shoulders, and in his heart he understood that he was but a solitary figure upon a vast tapestry, his thread woven alongside countless others. And yet, as the curse dictated, he must traverse the thorny path alone. With courage imbued by the crone's cryptic counsel, he embarked upon the path once more, the thorns brushing against the steel of his armor with gentle whispers. Each step forward was a choice, each choice a step further into the embrace of fate. The forest, undulating with life, sang to him of old stories and new beginnings, a melody that lulled weary travelers into dreams, a tune perfect for those seeking respite in the quiet of night. As the moon ascended to its zenith, casting ethereal light upon the thorny path, the knight's journey reached its culmination. Though hemmed in by thorns and shadows, he discovered at the path's end a hidden grove where the tender blooms of fate's fruition awaited him, untouched by the ravages of despair. It was here, amidst the tranquility of the grove and the shimmering light of destiny fulfilled, that the knight understood his true quest was not one of violence or conquest, but a journey of acceptance and peace. And so, the path that had once seemed fraught with peril revealed its true essence. A journey not to be feared but embraced. It was a path of introspection, where the echoes of inevitability sang the sweetest lullabies, and where the weary soul could find solace. Drifting into gentle slumber against the pulse of the universe, the story of the thorny path, with its gentle cadence and evocative imagery, remains etched into the annals of time, told and retold as a serene tapestry of fate's inexorable march, perfect for dreaming and perfect for sleep. In ancient times, before the written word captured the essence of human thought, the natural world provided a canvas onto which stories of existence, growth, and mysteries were painted. Among these, the concept of a sleeping sun was one shared by many pagan beliefs across different cultures. The sleeping sun became a metaphorical idea, representing the cyclic nature of life, death, and rebirth, echoing the eternal dance of awakening, dormancy, and renewal. From the Norse legends, we learn about Sol, the sun goddess, whose daily journey across the sky inspired awe and reverence. When the long winter nights crept in, and the sun appeared to slumber, the Norse folk believed it was a time when Sol rested, gathering strength to return with a brighter dawn. This period of rest became a time for reflection and rest for humans as well, bonding them with the earth and its cycles. In Celtic mythology, the sun was often depicted as a wheel, symbolizing the continuity of time and its unending cycle of life. The Celts celebrated the winter solstice as Yule, marking the rebirth of the sun, emphasizing the sun's rejuvenation after a period of slumber. In these moments of the sun's apparent rest, Celts saw not the death of light, but its inevitable return, bringing hope and renewal. They crafted tales of seasonal change, where the earth itself seemed to sleep under a blanket of snow, only to awaken into the vibrant life of spring. Similarly, Slavic paganism had its own deities, like Horus, the god of the winter sun. As the days grew colder, Horus's strength dwindled, and he was believed to sleep or disappear under the earth. This temporary state of sleep was seen not as an end, but a preparation for the forthcoming birth of a healthier, stronger sun. The end of winter heralded Horus's awakening, which brought fertility and prosperity to the land. These pagan perspectives on the sun and earth's cyclical dormancy and rebirth provided spiritually fertile ground for allegories that underscored renewal and awakening. They fundamentally imparted hope. Within the slumber was contained the promise of dawn. Such ideas may well have threaded their way through the tapestries of stories, like the beloved tale of Sleeping Beauty. In the story of Sleeping Beauty, elements of pagan beliefs subtly underscore its thematic essence. Here is a young princess cursed into a deep sleep, her life on hold, dormant much like the sun on a long winter night. However, her slumber is rich with allegorical meaning. Rather than a period of cessation, it is a transformative pause, anticipatory more than terminal. Her kingdom, much like the lands in deep winter, grows silent and still, waiting for the moment of renewal. Such narratives of slumber and awakening pepper the landscape of human storytelling, drawing powerful metaphors from the natural world. The Sleeping Beauty's awakening parallels the rebirth of the sun in pagan narratives, signifying hope's return after a period of darkness. The kiss that awakens the princess is the dawn, the sun's first rays breaking the night's hold, reinvigorating the world once more. The narrative arc from slumber to awakening, so central to the Sleeping Beauty story, reflects the same hope for renewal that ancient peoples clung to through their long nights, believing in the dawn that followed. Thus, through the Sleeping Beauty tale, we see a coalescing of human belief in natural cycles. Stories born from the heart of pagan traditions transformed into allegories of personal and communal renewal. In them, the essence of peaceful, restorative slumber crystallizes, perfect for dreaming, fertile for creation, as old as the stories written by the stars and the shadows from which they first emerged. In embracing these narratives, even unwittingly, each retelling pays homage to the timeless traditions deeply nestled in the past, a nod to the lessons imparted by nature's grand cycles beyond human reckoning. In the distant realms of ancient folklore and timeless bedtime stories, the wicked fairy often casts a looming shadow. This figure, notorious for their malevolent deeds, is commonly known as the bearer of curses, casting spells that echo the hidden fears of human society. The tale of the wicked fairy's curse is a fascinating allegory, revealing the depths of human superstition and the inclination to externalize evil in the form of mystical adversaries. The narrative of the wicked fairy's curse traditionally begins with a grand celebration, an event marking the birth of a royal child, a beacon of hope and prosperity for the kingdom. Amidst jubilations, gifts from worthy subjects and magical beings alike, the stage is set for an uninvited guest. The wicked fairy, scorned by exclusion, arrives to disrupt the peace, channeling her resentment into a powerful curse. This curse, typically a foreboding prophecy cast upon the innocent, transforms the festive celebrations into a somber affair. The role of the malevolent fairy carries significant cultural weight. In folklore, fairies are often portrayed as capricious and unpredictable, their persona a reflection of nature itself. beautiful yet dangerous, nurturing yet destructive. The wicked fairy, however, embodies the darker shades of this spectrum, an entity that humanized fears regarding fate and destiny. Her malice is a tangible manifestation of societal anxieties, a symbol of chaos in an ordered world, embodying the fear of unpredictability in life's tapestry. Curses, as portrayed in these majestic tales, delve deep into the human psyche, spotlighting a universal fear of the uncontrollable. They serve as cautionary tales, warning against greed, cruelty, and the dire repercussions of neglecting powerful forces beyond human comprehension. The wicked fairy's curse acts as a narrative device to weave complex moral through-lines, emphasizing the timeless human journey towards balance, justice, and moral righteousness. Historically, curses have transcended the realm of fairy tales to become integral to various cultural and religious paradigms. Considered as potent expressions of ill will, curses have seeped into the annals of many civilizations, often mirroring societal hierarchies and power dynamics. In times of strife, people have sought to understand natural and personal disasters through the prism of curses, attributing misfortunes to malevolent enchantments rather than the vagaries of fate. The societal implications of curses illuminate the human tendency to seek out scapegoats in moments of crisis. By externalizing misfortune, communities have historically alleviated collective anxieties, projecting inner turmoils onto imagined external actors. This psychological mechanism of projection allows societies to navigate the unknown, employing tales of wicked fairies and curses as metaphors for the invisible adversaries that threaten communal well-being. In peaceful societies, these tales also serve as bedtime stories, eerily calming in their familiarity, often recounted during the gentle twilight hours to comfort children with a sense of closure and moral clarity. Despite the fear they instill, these stories ultimately impart the wisdom of resilience, teaching that love and bravery can overcome even the most sinister of curses. The wicked fairy, thus, mirrors our ancestral narrative of confronting darkness with light, a timeless motif that underpins human storytelling. The malevolent fairy and her curse become allegorical tapestries, weaving threads of caution, fear, hope, and an enduring quest for justice in a world yearning for balance. In the beautifully woven narrative of 100 Years of Solitude, the concept of a century-long sleep acts as a poignant metaphor, symbolizing the transient nature of time and the perennial cycles of death and resurrection. One cannot ignore the context in which this sleep happens, a peaceful history ideal for slumber, seemingly paradoxical yet charged with profound insights into human existence. Time in itself is a relentless force that binds the characters of Macondo. Much like the mythical town where the story unfolds, the linear progression of time is continuously questioned by the idea of this century-long slumber. Contemplating a realm where time is paused, held in suspension, offers an alternative perspective to the otherwise chaotic, unyielding march of chronological life. From the vantage point of a century-long sleep, history is portrayed not as a tumultuous account of wars, losses, and tragedies, but as a serene landscape where one might lay down to rest. This implies a stillness and perfection within the tapestry of time, a rare moment where human chaos halts, replaced by an idealized version of historical progression. Sleep, death, and resurrection share a unique relationship in this narrative. The century-long slumber represents a form of death, not in the literal, physical dissolution of the body, but rather in the sense of a suspended state of awareness. It's a pause, a recalibration before the inevitable rebirth or awakening, echoing the cyclical nature of life and history itself. The symbolism of this mystical repose also delves into the innate human anxieties concerning mortality. To sleep for a century is to metaphorically dodge the immediate inevitability of death and the passage of time. It is a subconscious way to grapple with our fear of endings and our hopes for continuity beyond the confines of mortal life. Moreover, this notion of sleep as a historical constant suggests a collective human desire to be free from the burdens of consciousness, guilt, and the ceaseless noise of living. This desire for peace and quietude draws a parallel to the sanctuary that death promises, free from the anguish of worldly existence. In examining the metaphorical landscape that 100 Years of Solitude constructs, one must wonder if such a sleep could ultimately be an act of rebellion against the relentless surge of time. Does it not suggest a hope to awaken into a timeless realm, where perhaps history has not merely paused but achieved a form of perfection? The century-long sleep blurs the lines between reality and myth, akin to Rip Van Winkle's legendary slumber. It roots itself in the fear and fascination with time travel, the longing to see worlds beyond one's own, worlds that might be brighter or more promising. History, peaceful and unchanged, becomes a refuge, a dream of an unblemished world perfect for the dreamer, not tarnished by the discord of human errors. Thus, the significance of this sleep cannot be overstated. It serves as an allegorical exploration into the human psyche's most uncharted territories. It forces us to reflect on life's fleeting nature and kindles hope for a renewal that persists in the undeniable drift of existence. If, in sleep, we find a parallel to death, in the ultimate awakening, we may find the essence of resurrection, the rebirth of history itself, renewed and possibly devoid of its prior tribulations. The 100 years of solace and solitude become an interval of transformation, a cocoon crafting history's renewed emergence. As we pull the veil from the allegory's eyes, we recognize a message deeply embedded within the narrative, a calling to embrace our primeval fears and to find peace in the inevitable cycles of time, death, and rebirth that constitute our humanity. Once upon a time, in a kingdom nestled amidst verdant hills and shimmering lakes, there was a royal family whose lineage stretched back through the ages like a golden thread. This kingdom was ruled by King Leopold and Queen Serafina, whose reign was marked by prosperity and peace. Despite their success, an undercurrent of political tension swirled beneath the serene facade of their court, its source rooted in the complex web of dynastic alliances and rivalries that bound the noble houses together. The royal lineage was of utmost importance, for in this kingdom, power was not merely granted by divine right but also by the strength of connections through marriage and blood. The royal family had to constantly maneuver within a complex playing field of alliances and enmity, balancing power among the great houses that sought favor or plotted in secret. This delicate web of political maneuvering was a dance as nuanced and intricate as any courtly ball, where moves were made with precision and intent. The birth of the royal couple's daughter, Princess Aurora, was a moment of great joy and relief, for her existence secured the line of succession. This brought temporary respite from the underlying tensions, as she was a symbol of continuity and hope. However, her birth also rekindled old rivalries, for power was often a zero-sum game among the nobility. Her very existence intensified the silent machinations as various factions within the kingdom and beyond the borders schemed to ensure their influence over the future queen-to-be. In the shadow of Aurora's cradle, the court whispered of courtly woes and clandestine plots. The various noble houses vied for advantageous positions, seeking to align themselves with the infant princess's future ascendancy. Each suitor who would eventually vie for Aurora's hand in marriage was not just a potential husband, but a strategic player in a broader game of power, each alliance a potential shift in the balance that held the kingdom together. Yet amidst these tensions was an age-old story woven with enchantment and shadow. The kingdom's prosperity had common roots in a forgotten promise made to the fairy folk who dwelt in the forested peripheries. Invoking blessings from ancient pacts, the kingdom had grown in wealth and fortune. However, like any promise or pact, there was a price to be paid for these favors, one that the royal family was sometimes loath to acknowledge. It was at Aurora's christening, a sumptuous event inviting noblemen, courtiers, and the unseen ears of gossip, that the politics of courtly life and ancient magic intertwined in a dramatic twist of fate. Among the invited fairy godmothers, each bestowing a gift of virtue or beauty upon the infant princess, there appeared the uninvited fairy Maleficent. Her presence was a stark reminder of the precarious balance of forgotten alliances. With deft insight, she cast her own spell upon Ara, a curse laced with both vengeance and a test of the kingdom's unity. Aurora would grow to be a vision of grace, yet on her fateful 16th birthday, she was destined to prick her finger on a spinning wheel and fall into an endless slumber, touching upon the themes of fate and thwarted time. In this act, Maleficent mirrored the kingdom's political reality that the truths which lay buried or ignored could return to test even the most secure reigns. Yet all was not despair, for one of the good fairies, Flora, managed to modify the curse of the princess would not die, but sleep until awakened by true love's kiss, an equal play for hope amid the prevailing winds of political uncertainty. King Leopold, in his wisdom, sought to weave a counter-move, holding alliances closer, hosting more galas and summits of peace, fortifying borders, and strengthening the trust whilst ensuring no further ill tidings would befall his only child. Yet the missives he sent and the cautious treaties he negotiated could not completely forestall the gathering cloud of dynastic ambitions and magical retributions. As Aurora grew, blissfully unaware of the intricate tapestry of courtly intrigue surrounding her, she became a muse for hope and potential change, a canvas upon which each faction painted their aspirations. Suitors from distant lands sent intricate gifts and elaborate missives, each laden with familial crests entwined like loving but calculating arms reaching across the chessboard of kingdoms. Aurora found refuge from the court's pressures in the forest surrounding the kingdom, unaware that every interaction and friendship she fostered was observed closely by the guardianship of loyal knights and protective enchantments sent by her fairy godmothers. The court watched, waiting for the thresholds of her destiny to unfold, as sovereign magic and lineage politics entwined to decide the narrative's outcome. When the fateful day came, Princess Aurora, despite all precautions, fulfilled her destiny by pricking her finger, resulting in the kingdom slipping into a weighed silence as all awaited an awakening that would bring the dawn's promise. In sleep, a time suspended the kingdom in its track, a pause in the power dynamics as feuding houses adopted uneasy truces, for their aspirations lay intertwined with Aurora's fate. It was Prince Philip, a young noble whose lineage was just promising enough for he carried the potential for reviving allyship, who braved dangers to approach the sleeping realm, guided by the luminescent fairies and driven by a love born not just of sight but of deeper resonance. He stood poised to overcome the adversities conjured by both magical and human enemies. And so it was, this kiss of true intention, a hopeful act against a backdrop of political shadows, that awakened not just Aurora, but the kingdom itself. Lifting the veil of slumber, Aurora's awakening breathed life into a moment of renewed alliances and hopes, where the politics unfurled the chance for a reshaped dynamic, a story reimagined at the cusp of hidden tensions and the fragile potential for peace. The coronation that followed was a union as much of hearts as it was of kingdoms, a grand design where love became both key and catalyst for the continued strength of the royal family. The future, while still dotted with the shadows of complex alliances, gained the hope of a bright new day, where trust and unity won amid tales of kings, queens, and courtly was, a storyline as serene as it was politically astute, perfect for ushering the harmonious sleep of a kingdom cherished. Thus, in the annals of their history, as the sounds of revelry faded away, the story of Aurora and the sleeping kingdom continued to echo through the halls of time as a peaceful testament to the nuances of power and lineage in the kingdom's narrative, a fairy tale underscored by the courtly intrigue and peaceful history perfect for the dreams of princes and princesses alike. The concept of the spinning wheel as a symbol of fate and destiny is deeply rooted in both mythology and folklore across cultures. In many traditions, the wheel and spindle are intertwined with the powerful notion of the cyclical nature of life and the inevitability of change, offering a peaceful and introspective narrative ideal for resting the mind and accompanying a journey into sleep. In the annals of Greek mythology, the Moirai or Fates were three goddesses who determined the destinies of both mortals and gods. Clotho, one of the three, symbolized the beginning of life as she spun the thread of life from her distaff onto her spindle. The spindle, an ancient tool, represents the linearity of time and the weaving elements of fate. It embodies the moment-to-moment choices and paths, each spin creating different patterns that signify the myriad possibilities life holds. The spinning wheel, akin to the Moirai, symbolizes the cycle of life. Its constant rotation illustrates the perpetual passage of time, where each revolution is a testament to life's ongoing journey. It's a serene image, a wheel slowly turning, each spin weaving the fabric of destiny thread by thread. The spins can be gentle reminders of life's natural progression, a tranquil metaphor for a peaceful existence. In Norse mythology, these threads of fate are wielded by the Norns, who live beneath the Yggdrasil tree, busily weaving their tapestry of destinies. Their spindle spins day and night, silently crafting the lives and tales of mortals and gods alike. Thus, the spindle represents both creation and the extension of one's life story beyond one's immediate control. serving as an element that encodes the mysteries unfolding in the tapestry of the universe. Together, the wheel and the spindle hold a myriad of stories, each turning a new page in the chronicle of fate. They are symbolic of fate's wheel of fortune, where one's life path may be altered with each spin. This symbolism is infused with tranquility, promoting a harmony with the ever-changing flow of life. As the wheel turns, destinies entwine and unravel, reflecting the inherent balance and peace of the universe. In Celtic folklore, the spinning wheel represents the eternal cycle of life and nature, a peaceful yet powerful force that weaves the universe. In many tales, fairies weave on moonlit nights, bestowing kindness, prosperity, and even curses according to their whims. The spindle of the spinning wheel not only spins tales, but also echoes the cyclical nature of the seasons, linking the fate of humanity closely with natural elements. Across the varied tapestries of folklore and myth, the interplay of the spindle and wheel boldly illustrates the delicate web of life, one bound by fate yet granted small freedoms of choice. As you drift peacefully into the night, picture the wheel's gentle spin and the rhythmic drawing of the spindle. Envision them as guides weaving the fabric of destiny, each moment interconnected, bound to nature's untouched and gentle wisdom. In this tranquil narrative, the wheel turning becomes a metaphor for the soft, calming rhythm of the heart, where each beat weaves its own story, demonstrating life's continual weaving of hope, dreams, and quiet breaths. Such is the tale of the spinning wheel of destiny and the spindle within, ever entwined with the harmonious threads of life's gentle fate. In the peaceful woodland realm where myth and reality entwine, the tale of Sleeping Beauty unfolds with mesmerizing enchantments and mysterious entrapments. These magical elements, steeped in ancient folklore traditions, create a rich tapestry of symbolism that bleeds into the cultural streams from which they originated. The story, perfect for drifting into slumber, begins with a curse cast by a fairy scorned, an act that sets the stage for a drama where fate's tangled threads are guided by the hands of the unseen. Once upon a time, in a land kissed by the gentle whispers of time, a child of royal blood was born under a sky lit with 1,000 sparkling stars. Her birth was heralded by church bells and celebrated by the kingdom with festivities that stretched to the horizon. This was a time when the boundary between the sacred and the mundane blurred, allowing the supernatural to weave its ethereal presence into life's fabric. This child, named Aurora, was the embodiment of hope and dreams, her very existence a testament to the ethereal dance between destiny and chance. The magic of Aurora's tale is deeply rooted in the lore of old, drawn from the wellsprings of oral traditions passed down through the ages. Folklore has consistently been a vessel for cultural exchange, and the tale of Sleeping Beauty is no exception. It speaks of not just a single kingdom, but of many lands, each adding its unique voice to the narrative. The curse, perhaps the most potent of the tale's many enchantments, is a common motif that resonates with the archetypal fear of the unknown. Cast by the slighted fairy, commonly known in various retellings as Maleficent, it mirrors the dread of impending doom, a shadow lurking at the edges of well-lit halls. This spell, which dooms Aurora to a long, dreamless sleep upon the prick of a spindle, serves as both a narrative device and a symbol. It is a reminder of the capricious nature of fate and the perpetual struggle between light and darkness. Interestingly, the spindle itself, the instrument of the curse, holds cultural significance. In many folklore traditions, spinning and weaving are symbolic of fate and destiny. The spindle, therefore, is not merely a tool for textile production. It is a representation of the delicate threads of life being spun and sometimes rupturing. The curse enacted through such an item emphasizes the entrapment of life within predestined patterns, warning that even with good intentions, one's fate can be spun into chaos. Moreover, the tale of Sleeping Beauty is suffused with enchantments that connect to ancient rites of passage and transformation. The long, enchanted sleep can be seen as a form of ritual stasis, a necessary pause before the awakening to a new phase. It embodies the slumbering potential within us all, a theme common in mythology, where a hero must undergo trials in a state of suspended animation or ignorance before realizing their true destiny. These themes of enchantment and suspension are portrayed across different cultures with varying interpretations. In the ancient Celtic tradition, for example, the land of Tirnanog is a place where time stands still and visitors may slumber for what seems like an eternity, only to awaken unchanged. This echoes through Aurora's narrative, weaving the dreamlike notion of a time without passage into the timeless trope of the enchanted sleep. In the French version of the tale, known as La Belle aux Bois Dormants, the element of sleep functions as a metaphor for the purity and innocence of youth, a state that will eventually awaken to the complexities of adult life. This association with purity is echoed in other cultures as well, offering a glimpse into societal ideals and the transitory nature of childhood innocence that folklore often seeks to preserve. Furthermore, the theme of entrapment is not only portrayed through the curse, but also through the protective measures taken to guard against it. The removal of all spindles from the kingdom, an act meant to keep Aurora safe, inadvertently reflects a deeper truth about the protective instincts that can lead to unintended repercussions. In many cultures, overprotection is seen as an entrapment of its own kind, stifling growth and discovery in a bid to guard against perceived danger. Yet, as with all folk tales, there exists a path to liberation, to the unraveling of fate's tight knots. In Sleeping Beauty, this comes in the form of true love's kiss, a motif that has kindled imaginations for centuries. The kiss, drawn from the wells of Romance traditions across Europe, signifies more than an act of awakening. It is a symbol of harmony, the confluence of destinies interwoven, and the power of love's authenticity to break through boundaries and melt away curses. This aspect draws upon the ancient idea of resurrection and renewal, concepts woven into many mythological frameworks where love serves as the ultimate transformative force. Such themes are prevalent in tales of divine intervention and miraculous awakenings, familiar to cultures that hold love as a guiding principle. In conclusion, Sleeping Beauty's tale, though woven with enchantments and cobbled with entrapments, serves as an allegory for life's mystical interplay between free will and fate. The cultural roots that underpin this fairy tale reflect humanity's fascination with the magical elements that pervade folklore traditions. The comforting rhythm of Aurora's story, laced with enchantment and timeless wisdom, gently cradles us into dreams where magic is real and every curse can be broken. In the quiet pre-dawn of Malfold Village, the air is dense with the serenity that one only finds in such isolated, untouched places. Birds are yet to break into their morning songs, and the leaves of the maple trees stand unmoved by any stirring wind. It's a moment of complete peace, a cocoon of tranquility nurtured by the night, ready to burst at the advent of the sun. But within one of the humble cottages, nestled between two ancient oaks, a young man, Eric, stirs from his sleep. He's neither startled nor gripped by any immediate sense of alarm. Rather, it's a subtle awareness, a quiet recognition dawning on the periphery of his consciousness. His awakening mirrors that of countless individuals throughout history, those moments when realization hits, unbidden and unlooked for, brilliant in its clarity and terrifying in its implications. Eric's first realization is that the benign cycle of his life is coming to a crucial pivot. Thoughts, once dismissed as fleeting concerns, now crowd upon him with an unwavering demand for attention. His roles, his responsibilities, the hidden truths lurking beneath the surface of his everyday existence. As Eric rises, leaving the comfort of his warmth-drenched blanket, his mind drifts to another awakening historical one. He thinks of Siddhartha Gautama, who upon witnessing suffering in its forms took a path that altered the trajectory of civilizations. Siddhartha's awakening shed light on the darkness of ignorance, just as Eric's realization illuminates the values and toys of contemporary comfort that occupy and clutter his mind. Walking to the cottage window, Eric peers at the dawning light outside, remembering the stories of the Enlightenment period, where individuals like Voltaire and Rousseau sparked a fire of intellectual and individual awakening. It was an era where questioning the status quo wasn't just encouraged, it became a duty, a movement toward progress driven by an indefatigable thirst for truth and reason. For Eric, the parallels are astounding. His life, too, is at a junction where questioning becomes imperative, an exploration necessary to unravel the mysteries shrouded in shadows. The tranquility of night gives way to dawn's first light orchestra, the mellow hum of life springing into action. Eric is resolved to seek his awakening's purpose, much like Galileo persistently probing into the cosmic curtains, discovering celestial truths that changed humanity's cosmic perspective. The significance lay not in resisting the tide of awakening, but embracing it to foster growth and understanding. Eric dresses, each movement deliberate, understanding from history the importance he bears in shaping his saga. Florence Nightingale woke in the midst of dire wars to become a beacon of healing amidst chaos. Her night wanderings with a lamp-lit pathways to modern nursing, a testament to nurturing even in the darkest hours. Eric wonders what his lamp will illuminate, what hidden domains of knowledge or change he's yet to tread upon. Exiting the threshold, Eric feels the soft earth, the dampness of the morning dew under his feet, synchronizing with nature's awakening. A significant historical awakening appears in his thoughts, the peaceful emergence of the Indian subcontinent to self-autonomy. Political advancements and persistent plots against colonial barriers birthed a nation on principles of non-violence and collective goals. Eric's path, though personal, seems entwined with the universal quest for truth, justice, and meaningful existence. Every footfall is a rhythmic reminder of the journey ahead, paralleling the civil rights movement, where personal awakenings converge to sculpt society's future, prompting changes that aligned with equity and dignity. The power behind these awakenings is their authenticity, each a narrative running parallel with history's timeline. As Eric cascades through these reflections, he realizes that the fabric of personal awakening, individual or societal, is embroidered seamlessly within the broader tapestry of history, an ongoing legacy, resonant and unending. Just as his musings seem to settle, a breeze rustles through the branches, ushering in new thoughts, new questions, and, most importantly, new opportunities for answers, for learning, and for growth. Eric steps forward, embracing the sun's warmth, ready to confront the challenges and joys that come with waking up to the dark realities of his existence, confident in the knowledge that it's not an isolated journey, but a continuous cycle imprinted deeply in human history. Once upon a time, in a tranquil kingdom far away, a royal couple was blessed with a beautiful daughter. She was named Aurora, and the kingdom flourished with joy as they prepared for the magnificent celebration of her birth. However, lurking beneath the surface of this seemingly peaceful land was a tale of judgment and predestination that would shape the destiny of the young princess. At Aurora's christening, all the fairies of the realm were invited to bestow gifts upon the newborn princess. Each fairy blessed her with a unique gift: beauty, grace, and musical talent. But it was the failure to address all potential influences that sealed Aurora's fate. The kingdom's guardians, blinded by their celebratory bliss, overlooked sending an invite to Maleficent, the dark fairy. Enraged by this exclusion, Maleficent crashed the gala, casting a powerful curse upon the infant princess. On her 16th birthday, Maleficent declared, "She will prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and fall into a death, like sleep from which she will never awaken." The silence that followed her proclamation was a heavy shroud of impending doom. The themes of judgment and predestination are woven deeply into this narrative. From her birth, Aurora was subject to forces beyond her control. Her fate was a tapestry threaded with the failures of her protectors, who had inadvertently set the stage for Maleficent's dark judgment, despite attempts by a kindly fairy to soften the curse, altering Aurora's fate to a deep sleep instead of death. The course of her life was predestined by the moments of judgment surrounding her birth. Aurora's parents tried to alter destiny by ordering all spinning wheels in the kingdom destroyed. This desperate attempt illustrates the futility of escaping predestined judgment. The hubris of believing they could outwit Maleficent's curse only underscored the inevitable force of fate. Time flowed on peacefully in the kingdom, yet each day marched steadily towards Aurora's 16th birthday. As a child, she was sheltered, kept away from the dangers of the world. She grew under the watchful eyes of her guardians, oblivious to the darkness that loomed over her future. Her life was serene, filled with music and laughter. Yet beneath this veneer of contentment lay the inescapable reality of her destined trial. The fairies who watched over her were symbolic of the roles guardians played in this tale. They were entrusted with her protection, attempting to shield her from the curse through kindness and magic. But even their efforts couldn't alter the predetermined path. Their magic was potent, but Maleficent's judgment was stronger, rooted in a grievance that couldn't be undone by simple spells. Perhaps the most poignant aspect of Aurora's story is the acceptance of one's fate. On the eve of her 16th birthday, she discovered her true identity and the curse that shadowed her life. Despite the looming prophecy, She exhibited grace and resolve, embodying an understanding that surpassed her years. Her acceptance was not born of resignation, but rather an innate wisdom recognizing that some paths are carved by forces greater than oneself. Even as Aurora pricked her finger and succumbed to the enchanted sleep, the kingdom remained enshrouded in a quiet serenity, as though the land itself had surrendered to the weight of the ancient curse. It was a peaceful history, perfect for sleeping, a silent testament to the power of judgment and destiny. The inescapable judgment woven into Aurora's fate serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between autonomy and providence. In her slumber, she unwittingly taught her kingdom an invaluable lesson about the perils of neglect and the inexorable pull of destiny. It was only with the selfless act of true love that Aurora's predetermined course was altered, offering a glimpse of hope amid a narrative of inevitability. The Sleeping Beauty's tale, with its intertwining themes of judgment and predestination, continues to echo through the ages, leaving its indelible mark on the tapestry of folklore. As Aurora slept, cradled in the warm embrace of oblivion, the kingdom too joined her in this quiet reprieve, dreaming of a future where judgment might yield not only to the dictates of fate, but also to the powerful force of love. Once upon a time, in a land untouched by the ravages of modern-day turmoil, nestled between rolling hills and serene lakes, there was a castle shrouded in mystery and legend. This kingdom, known as Elysium, thrived under azure skies where every day was a gentle whisper of the one before, perfect and peaceful. In this idyllic realm, legend spoke of a beauty unparalleled, resting eternally within the highest tower of the castle. She was known simply as Beauty, and her passive repose captured the imaginations of young and old alike. It was said that Beauty had been placed under a mysterious spell, causing her to fall into an endless slumber, awaiting her fabled awakening. Beauty lay on a bed adorned with roses and thorns, her chest softly rising and falling, a delicate testament to her existence. Her world was silent, as if the universe held its breath, wrapped in the silk sheets of time itself. Within her passive state, she became the epicenter of tales untold, as visitors from distant lands journeyed to witness this sleeping marvel. Yet, beneath the peaceful veneer of this story lurked a complex web of societal expectations and gender dynamics that dictated the narrative. Beauty's passivity was both a reflection and a construct of the historical context in which such tales often found their roots. In the story of Beauty's repose, her role encapsulated the ideal of femininity seen through the lens of bygone eras, where submission and waiting were revered as virtues. The castle, a grand edifice of stone and time, symbolized not just a fortress but a societal framework where roles were preordained. Here men, driven by quests and conquests, ventured to prove their worth through valor or love. Women, by contrast, often inhabited roles steeped in patience or sacrifice, waiting for a prince, a moment, or a destiny. Beauty herself, though passive, was central to the tale's power. Her stillness, while indicative of the constraints placed upon women historically, also invited various interpretations. Some viewed her repose as weakness, a testament to the imprisoning expectations of her gender, but others saw strength in her endurance, the ability to remain at peace amid shifting times and upheavals. The passivity of Beauty's condition bore both literal and metaphorical significance. On the one hand, it represented a physical state, a magical constraint within the confines of the story, mirroring the historical passivity imposed upon women, whose ambitions and voices often lay dormant, entangled in social norms. On the other hand, it invited introspection and contemplation for those who chose to look beyond the surface. Was sleep simply a respite, or was it a silent rebellion against the world's chaos? In Beauty's kingdom, time moved like a gentle river, obscured by the thin veil of dreams. Her presence transcended physicality, becoming a mirror held up to societies that laid upon women the duty of being seen but not heard. Her story suggested perfection in repose, an idealized sleep that masked the complexities of identity and power. Here, Beauty existed not as a person, but as an emblem, a history who slept silently, peacefully without stirring. Yet as people gathered stories of her timeless rest, tales grew of another reality, a world where the Sleeping Beauty dreamed. In those whispers arose the possibility of an awakening not defined by a kiss, but by the stirring of awareness. In the eyes of the dreamers, Beauty yearned for expression, her silence a form of communication existing on the periphery of the conscious world. Her eventual awakening, they imagined, would break not just the spell of sleep, but shatter the age-old paradigm of passive femininity. In her passive repose lay a tale untainted by the clamor of conflict, showcasing the illusion of perfection and the society that nurtured it. It was a paradox, peaceful yet confining, hopeful yet static. For those who listened to the fragile echoes of past stories, the role of beauty was a gentle reminder, a reflection upon the layered complexities of gender dynamics and societal roles. And so, the story of beauty's passive repose continued to be told, a classic testament within the realm of Elysium, where time itself seemed to pause, a perfect history peacefully sleeping, untouched by the chaos that lay beyond its enchanted moors. In the heart of the enchanted realm known as Fairyland, the Grand Palace stood as a beacon of opulence and intrigue. This magical kingdom, hidden from mortal eyes, flourished with verdant trees that whispered in ancient tongues and rivers that shimmered like liquid pearls. Yet, even in this fantastical land, themes of feast and famine thread together a delicate narrative, linking each glorious celebration with an impending, inevitable cycle of despair. The palace feasts in Fairyland were renowned throughout the realms for their decadence and splendor. Held in a grand banquet hall bedecked with iridescent tapestries and ornate chandeliers that appeared to drip starlight, these feasts served as the central nexus for the kingdom's culture. Tables groaned under the weight of exquisite dishes, from roast venison adorned with rosemary sprigs harvested under moonlight to enchanted fruits whose flavors shifted with the taster's desires. Gleaming goblets overflowed with ambrosia, honey mead, and wines aged in enchanted oak barrels. The preparation for these feasts was itself a spectacle, a symphony of clanging pots, sizzling pans, and the harmonic chants of culinary enchantments. Ethereal scents of spiced bread and sweet pastries melded into an aromatic tapestry that promised bliss and wonder. But behind this facade of indulgent pleasure lay subtle threads of symbolism. These gatherings were more than just merrymaking. They were intricate narratives woven into the very fabric of Fairyland's existence. Medieval celebrations and feasts, reflecting societal hierarchies and communal bonds, find their echoes within Fairyland's royal banquets, symbolizing dual themes of community and conspicuous consumption. In medieval society, feasts were joyous occasions, marking milestones from births and marriages to victories in battle. Such ceremonies were spectacles of wealth, reinforcing the social order and uniting distinct classes, if only temporarily. Within Fairyland, as in medieval times, each feast was staged with orchestrated precision, transforming the mundane into the fantastical. Yet, here lay the juxtaposition. Each ceremonial high in Fairyland carried with it the whisper of an impending fall. This duality is delicately etched into the narratives of these sumptuous feasts. The more lavish the celebration, the closer the kingdom edged towards tragedy. Just as the moon must wane, the opulence of each gathering foreshadowed a period of famine, a recurring test of resilience and fortitude for the realm's denizens. Such cycles of feasting and famine crafted a rich tapestry of narrative arcs across Fairyland's history, with feasts acting both as symbols of achievement and as a harbinger of trials to come. They were joyous yet paradoxically foreboding events, where laughter mingled with furtive glances at the fading moon. Even as songs flowed and dances circled like the eternal patterns of the Fairyland constellations, undercurrents of unease whispered through the grand halls. The royal household navigated these oscillating patterns with grace rooted in traditions handed down through the ages. In times of feast, wise governance would marshal the excess, storing surplus grains, preserving enchanted fruits, fortifying the walls of the ethereal granaries with magical charm craft. Yet, even amidst abundance, prudent souls felt the chill of famine's spectral threads. Medieval allegories run deep within Fairyland's feasting traditions. The Lady of Spring, with her diadem of woven flowers, danced through the orchards as the herald of prosperity, much like the medieval belief in the divine right of rulers to bring luck and plenty. Her presence at the head of the banquet table, benevolently smiling over the gathered court, signaled an era of peace and growth. Yet, her footsteps were mirrored by the shadows of tales that warned of fall, a cycle beyond human control, a reminder of humility before nature's primal forces. As history unfolded within Fairyland, each feast inevitably became a stage for drama and change, a backdrop to alliances forged, love bloomed, and revelries fostered. The tales spun around these events layered meanings like the intricate coats of arms that adorned the banquet hall, echoes of medieval pageantry speaking of lineage and covert ambition, of whispered conspiracies amidst the merriment. Thus, these feasts became not just a celebration but also a herald of change, awaiting the harbinger's first footfall upon the threshold of the palace. It is the duality of feast and famine that lends a profound depth to these gatherings, underlining the narrative that life in any land, no matter how enchanted, dances ever on the brink of balance. Through the records of Fairyland, chroniclers convey tales of sumptuous feasts that slowly unravel into the somber hues of famine. The springtime revelry of a feast juxtaposed with tales of winter's desolation paints a vivid palette, a dirge and a ballad intertwined. Within these tales, the protagonists learn that beyond the veil of celebration lies the truth of all existence's cycles of abundance and scarcity lace the fabric of life, stitching the past to the present in a timeless embroidery. The grand palace of Fairyland, bedecked with the bounties of the land, stood as a monument to this philosophy, an edifice of marble and dreams where the laughter from 1,000 feasts lingered eternally, echoing against the stones. Its enchanted walls whispered the lessons learned at each table, speaking to each generation of the perpetual dance, of feasts gilded with fleeting pleasures and famines fortifying the spirit. Thus, for those who walk the luminous paths of Fairyland, the legacy of feasts and famine is clear. It is a perpetual reminder etched into the kingdom's very soul, a narrative of joy entangled with loss, of life's uncertainties interwoven with its delights. With each feast comes the promise not solely of celebration, but of mindful stewardship, resilience, and inevitably, the poignant beauty of life's ephemeral nature. In a realm that lay on the fringes of the known world, time moved with the languid grace of a river winding through an untouched forest. This was a place where the air whispered secrets of ancient magic and forgotten tales. The balance of this world was maintained by powerful forces, unseen yet deeply felt, that governed the lives of its inhabitants. It was a land where stories of feminine power and revenge interwove like threads in a grand tapestry, their patterns intricate and hauntingly beautiful. At the heart of this domain was a queen, renowned for her wisdom and fierce protection of her people. Her kingdom stretched from verdant valleys to mist-shrouded mountains, every corner echoing with her influence. Her name was Queen Elira, a ruler whose reign was marked by peace, prosperity, and a keen sense of justice. Much like the river that gently carved the land, her rule smoothed conflicts and nurtured harmony. Yet there existed a power older and wilder than the queen's benevolent rule. The fairy, Eleonora was her name, a creature of mystery and ancient wonder. She dwelled in the heart of the deepest woods, a place where the sun dappled through lush canopies and shadows shifted with a life of their own. The people of the kingdom revered her, for she held sway over the whims of fate and the threads of destiny. It was said that she could turn the tides of fortune with a mere thought, her influence as enduring as the roots of towering oaks. The harmony between Queen Elira and Fairy Eleonora was the cornerstone of peace in this enchanted realm. The queen ruled with earthly wisdom, and the fairy guarded the ethereal balance, wielding magic forgotten by most. Together, they were the pillars upon which the serenity of the kingdom rested, a fascinating dynamic of power and protection. But as with all tales, there came a fracture, a temptation that threatened to undo the equilibrium. In the shadow of their reign lurked a vengeful spirit, a force aggrieved by the impartial justice that governed the land. This spirit was born from a fractured pact, its essence tied to the realm's history, simmering beneath the guise of peace. One fateful night, as stars spun their celestial yarn across the heavens, this spirit whispered curses into the wind, sowing seeds of discontent in the hearts of those who harbored grievances. It was the night when the moon shone with a shade of crimson, an ominous harbinger of the events to unfold. Elira, attuned to the ebb and flow of her kingdom, sensed the ripples of unease, but did not yet understand their source. Meanwhile, Lenora, with her timeless vision, glanced into the minds of those who dreamed of revenge. She saw their faces, those who felt wronged, those who once believed in the justice of the throne, and those who sought redress in the darkest of deeds. Knowing the delicate balance was at stake, Eleonora sought the queen's counsel. In the moonlit halls of the palace, beneath arches draped in ivy and starlight, they devised a plan to quell the unrest. They would host a gathering, a festival to celebrate unity, hoping that a show of strength and solidarity would stem the tide of malcontent. On the day of the festival, as golden daylight spilled through the kingdom, villagers and courtiers alike assembled in the sprawling gardens of Alira's palace. There were games and feasts, music and laughter, an embrace of life that resonated with warmth and joy. Yet amidst this celebration, Eleonora's eyes were sharp, scanning the crowd for signs of dissonance. As evening descended and lanterns lit up the gardens like earthly stars, a shadow passed through the reverie. It was subtle, like the brief eclipse of the sun by a cloud, but in that moment a chilling silence fell over the gathering. The air grew tense, anticipation crackled like electricity. Then, from the crowd emerged those whose hearts had been swayed by the spirit's whispers. They approached the throne, faces cloaked in resolve, ready to air their grievances. The queen rose, her presence an unyielding beacon in the night. "Speak your truths," she commanded gently, her voice infused with understanding and strength. The grievances spilled forth like a torrent, tales of perceived injustices and unfulfilled promises. Alira listened, her heart heavy with the weight of her people's burdens. Eleonora watched, silent and discerning, her mind weaving through the currents of dissent like a needle through cloth. As the last voices faded, Eleonora stepped forward, her ethereal form shimmering in the lantern light. She spoke of destiny and choice, of how even in a world bound by magic, the power of one's decisions could shape the future. Her words were a balm, soothing raw emotions and planting seeds of hope where despair had taken root. Alira, moved by the fairy's wisdom, rose again. She spoke of new beginnings, offering paths to mend the rifts and heal the wounds. Her sincerity resonated with many. Slowly, understanding dawned in their eyes. But among them stood a figure, the leader of the dissenters. His spirit, still tethered to the whispers of resentment, challenged the promises of the queen and the fairy. "What assurance do we have," he questioned, "that this is not merely a transient peace, fading with the morning dew?" In response, Alira and Eleonora joined hands, a symbol of their unbreakable bond and their commitment to the kingdom. Their combined energy manifested as a radiant light, casting away shadows and unveiling truths hidden in the depths of hearts. The enchanting glow revealed the spirit of revenge, an entity forged of regrets and mourning. It hovered in the air, ethereal and ghostly, its form a distortion of reality. A gasp rippled through the crowd. The villagers watched as Alira and Eleonora confronted the vengeful force. They spoke not with anger, but with compassion, acknowledging the spirit's pain and offering redemption. Eleonora's voice was a gentle breeze. "You are of us, yet apart, bound by shackles of time and sorrow. Let go, and find peace with us." The spirit wavered, its form flickering as if caught between realities. The power of the fairy and the sincerity of the queen reached deep into its ethereal core. Slowly, it began to dissolve, unraveling like mist at dawn. As light returned to the gardens, so too did the spirit of the kingdom. The festival resumed, its purpose fulfilled not just in celebration, but in the enduring promise of compassion and understanding. In the days that followed, Queen Alira and Fairy Eleonora's influence continued to shape the realm. Their actions, marked by wisdom and empathy, fortified the bonds between the people and the ethereal forces that governed their lives. Thus, the tale of feminine power and revenge transformed into a saga of protection and healing, reminding all of the enduring strength in unity and love. And so, with the peace restored and trust renewed, the realm returned to its tranquil serenity. The gentle words of the queen and the mystical presence of the fairy lingered in the hearts of those who bore witness. A lullaby for the ages, perfect for those seeking solace in the embrace of a peaceful history. In shadows of the plague, the pervasive themes of sleep and disease weave a narrative tapestry reminiscent of one of history's darkest epochs, the Black Plague. As we explore these connections, it becomes evident that historical plagues leave indelible marks not only in records, but also in the collective subconscious, influencing stories, myths, and the very fabric of cultures for generations. This shadowy tale, likely drawing on the persistent dread of past pandemics, entwines elements of sleep and sickness in ways that echo the turbulent eras gone by. The story begins with an eerie silence, akin to the silence that might have blanketed cities during the height of the Black Plague. Streets once bustling with life now remain hushed, populated only by the specter of disease. This silence signifies both the absence of vitality and the foreboding presence of an unseen force. In Shadows of the Plague, sleep serves as a metaphor for innocence lost and an unsettling peace amidst the chaos, much like how historians describe the quietude of plague, emptied towns. One cannot escape the somber imagery of piles of sleep, entranced bodies in Shadows of the Plague, resonant with historical accounts of mass burials. The Black Plague decimated populations, leaving European cities littered with corpses. In the throes of such pandemics, it wasn't unusual for the line between sleep and death to blur. People would succumb abruptly, their feverish slumber transformed into eternal rest. It is this nuanced dance between waking and sleeping, living and dying, that forms the heartbeat of our story. Historical analysis suggests that during outbreaks like the Black Plague, sleep became a luxury. Fear of the disease, and the symptoms it manifested, created pervasive insomnia among survivors. Similarly, the characters of Shadows of the Plague grapple with their disturbed rest. Sleep, an act that should bring rejuvenation, instead fosters trepidation, both in the narrative and in history, reiterating the perpetual tension between serenity and dread. In addition to sleep, another central element in the tale is the disease itself. Historically, plagues acted as harbingers of change, rewriting social orders, instilling collective trauma, and ushering in new belief systems. The Black Plague, in particular, left a legacy of altered societal dynamics. Feudal systems crumbled, and waves of religious fanaticism emerged as people searched for meaning amidst the inexplicable devastation. Shadows of the Plague subtly mirrors these transformative tides through its storyline. The society depicted within struggles not only with its physical decline due to illness but also with existential upheaval. Characters are forced to confront personal and social demons, emerging either reborn or succumbing to the despair that looms like the disease itself, silent yet overwhelming. Moreover, the tale's exploration of contagion echoes ancient fears that linger in modern psyches. The Black Plague spread swiftly, creating a climate of suspicion. Neighbors became potential foes harboring invisible threats. Human contact was feared as a vehicle of death. In Shadows of the Plague, such tensions are palpable, reflected in the characters' interactions and the compelling narrative of distrust and isolation. The fear of unseen contagion depicted within mirrors the historical paranoia that disease instilled, turning communities into fragile islands separated by invisible seas of infection. The narrative also delves into the psychological impacts of living through a pandemic. Historically, many who endured the Black Plague grappled with survivors' guilt and mental turmoil. Similarly, the characters in Shadows of the Plague navigate emotional landscapes scarred by loss and futility. Their battles, both internal and external, resonate with historical accounts of individuals emerging from plagues deeply changed, their souls shadowed by the specters of those they could not save. Additionally, the use of sleep within the story symbolizes escape as much as repose. In medieval Europe, sleep allowed brief respite from the harsh realities of plague-stricken existence. It was a retreat, albeit temporary, from encroaching horrors. Shadows of the Plague captures this dichotomy. Sleep offers a reprieve, yet it is fraught with nightmares and uncertainty, blurring the boundaries between safety and peril. Finally, the notion of transformations underpins both the story and the historical context it draws from. The Black Plague acted as a catalyst for significant cultural and intellectual shifts. Post-plague society saw the eventual rise of the Renaissance, a period marked by rebirth in art, science, and philosophy. Similarly, Shadows of the Plague hints at the potential for renewal amid decay, capturing the ambivalence of an ending that might also be a beginning. Thus, as we uncover the connections between sleep, disease, and historical echoes, it becomes evident that Shadows of the Plague reflects a narrative deeply intertwined with our collective past. The interplay of themes within serves not only as a tribute to those who once endured, but also as a meditation on the timeless human struggle between despair and hope. Much like the eras it draws inspiration from, the story whispers of shadows that linger, yet also illuminates the paths toward healing and renewal. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, lay a castle at the heart of a dense, mysterious forest. This castle, unlike any other, was shrouded in an impenetrable tangle of briars and thorns, so thick and tangled that neither man nor beast could traverse it. These thorns had grown over time, woven together by a magic that no blade could cut through, no fire could scorch. The kingdom within the briars was, in all senses, a world apart. It was as if this natural fortress, grown from the earth itself, was meant to keep the outside world at bay, to protect, to isolate, and to preserve. The thorns served as both shield and boundary, hiding within them not only a sleeping beauty, but also an entire tapestry of peace and unchanging tranquility. For years upon years, centuries perhaps, the world outside had moved on, while this secluded realm maintained its timeless, dreamlike slumber. The people of the nearby villages spoke in hushed tones of the enchanted thicket and the castle it concealed. They viewed it as both a blessing and a curse. For while it kept the beauty within safe from harm, it also kept her apart from the life that unfolded in the great tapestry of time beyond. To understand the motive of the impenetrable thorns, one must first recognize their dual nature. They are at once both a protective embrace and a barrier to the outside world. They are vines woven by a sorceress's spell, yet they are also nature itself, thriving and wild, unyielding to humanity's whims. Protection is their most evident function. They are the vigilant sentinels against any who might wish harm upon the sleeping princess or disturb the harmony of her endless repose. They impede the passage of time, ensuring that not a moment nor a droplet of sorrow should touch her serene visage. Inside this hushed bastion of briars, the princess lies at peace, undisturbed by the marching of years or the whispers of mortality. Isolation, however, is the other edge of this thorny shield. For just as the thorns keep danger at bay, they also prevent the joys and changes of the world from reaching the sleeping beauty. Festivals, seasons, the simple joys of life, and the sorrows that give meaning to joy, all are held at a distance. Thus, while she is shielded from pain, the princess is also denied the richness of the world's tapestry, unable to awake and take her place among the living. The legend of the impenetrable thorns is a tale both cautionary and whimsical. It speaks to the human desire for safety and peace, an eternal slumber in a secure haven, yet warns of the cost. The potential loss of connection, experience, and growth. It is both dream and dreamless rest, a manifestation of our longing to shield those we love from the world's harshness, and the realization that in doing so, we might also shield them from life's beauty. And so, in this kingdom within the briars, time stands still. Dreams weave through the air as tangible as the thorny vines themselves, and gentle snows fall like whispers, blanketing the silent stones of the castle. Perhaps, when the time is right, a brave soul will find a way through the bramble, guided by heart and courage, to awaken the beauty within and let life and time flow into the kingdom once more. The kingdom in the briars awaits, silent and patient, dreaming its undisturbed dreams, a realm where time holds its breath, awaiting the day when the story renews its course and the thorns part to let life in once again. In the gentle hush of a forest that seemed ever so alive, there flowed a sense of peace that lulled all who entered into a restful slumber. This serene landscape was home to an ageless tale, endlessly retold, yet continually enchanting. It was a tale of dreams, love, and the awakening kiss, the magical touch that whispers life back into stillness. In the heart of this enchanting realm lay a castle, hidden by thorny brambles and enchanted barriers. It was said that within the castle, time had come to a standstill. The origin of this stillness was no secret, encrypted in the tales sung by the wind. While its inhabitants slept, there remained a hope woven into the castle's very fabric, the hope of true love's first kiss. This story, echoing throughout countless cultures and generations, was not just a simple legend but a reflection of the deep, seated desires residing within the human heart. The awakening kiss became intertwined with the longing for harmony, the unity between two souls bonded by love. Perhaps this tale speaks to an idealism, where love is pure, untainted by the harshness of reality, unclouded by doubt. It paints a picture where dreams merge with the everyday, promising that love carries a transformative power capable of transcending even the deepest of sleeps. In the castle, the maiden dreaming in enchanted slumber was named Aurora. Her beauty was famed, but beyond that beauty lay a spirit of kindness and wisdom instilled by her own dreams and desires for harmony. Her slumber was more than rest. It was a testament to patience, trust, and the hope that love would awaken those very ideals. The prince destined to break this spell was not necessarily the bravest or the strongest. He was, instead, guided by the purity of his heart and the dreams that spoke to him in whispers as he journeyed. These dreams were of Aurora, whose presence in his life he had yet to fully comprehend. His journey through the dangerous woods and past fierce dragons symbolized the trials love often endures, trials that test the sincerity and resolve of those involved. As the storied kiss took place, something profound happened. It was not merely the awakening of Aurora from her dreamscape, but the beginning of a shared dream between her and the prince. The once silent castle erupted with life, reminded of the beauty that lay in the union of love. It was as if time itself had waited for this moment to continue its course. This moment of enlightenment speaks of a universal longing shared by all who hear this tale, the desire for a loving and harmonious union. It encapsulates a gentle wish for all hearts to find their counterparts and through love awaken to a world renewed. Thus, the tale of true love's first continues to echo through generations, a poetic reverie of hope, an emblem of romantic idealism, and a reflection of our deepest desires for connection and completeness. Once upon a time, in a world where ancient tales often described mysterious journeys, Into the Woods stands out as a fascinating narrative rich with themes of growth and transformation. Its plot, woven with the complexities of mature themes such as desire, fear, and self-discovery, makes it an interesting subject for a psychosexual analysis. Through this lens, the tale represents an initiation rite and a profound transition from childhood innocence to adult awareness. In ancient societies, initiation rituals often mark the transition from one stage of life to another, particularly from childhood to adulthood. These rituals were shrouded in mystery and symbolism, serving to prepare individuals for the responsibilities and roles they were to assume in their communities. Similarly, Into the Woods can be seen as a metaphor for such a transition. The woods themselves are a central symbol in the narrative. Within literary traditions, woods often embody the unknown, the unconscious mind, and a setting where transformations occur. To venture into the woods is to step into a liminal space, boundary where the familiar world of childhood ends and the uncharted territory of adulthood begins. As the characters enter the woods, they face a series of challenges and encounters that reveal their deepest fears and desires. This journey embodies the psychosexual development that mirrors real-life transitions into adulthood. The woods test them, offering both danger and deliverance, a concept mirrored in initiation ceremonies that test the physical, mental, and emotional strength of the initiate. Each character in Into the Woods represents different aspects of the psychosexual journey. Take, for instance, Little Red Riding Hood, who is often seen as a symbol of blossoming sexuality and burgeoning independence. Her encounter with the wolf is laden with symbolic meaning, representing the seduction and dangers of prematurely exploring adult desires. Yet, it is through this encounter that she gains insight and wisdom, stepping more firmly into her individuality. Similarly, Cinderella's venture into the woods represents the struggle between societal expectations and personal desires. Her story is about finding her voice and identity amid competing external pressures, akin to the challenges faced in adolescent development and identity formation. The prince, on the other hand, symbolizes an idealized romantic notion that fades upon closer scrutiny, a reflection of the often mythologized expectations of love and partnership. The baker and his wife represent the adult responsibility toward family and legacy. Their quest to have a child is a literal and symbolic venture into maturity and procreation, embodying the hopes and fears associated with creating new life and accepting the responsibilities that adulthood entails. Collectively, their paths converge and diverge in the forest, a tangled weave of choices and consequences that echo the rites of passage. The trials they face reveal latent passions and unarticulated anxieties, pushing the characters towards a reconciliation with their inner selves. They emerge from the woods, not unscathed, but changed, each having undergone a symbolic death and rebirth analogous to the transformational outcome celebrated in initiation rites. An important aspect of the psychosexual reading is the emphasis on self-discovery and personal growth. The confrontation with one's inner darkness, through battles with witches and wolves, is akin to introspective meditation on hidden fears and desires. Just as initiation rituals prepare individuals to face life's challenges, the journey through the woods forces characters to confront their limitations and learn cherished truths about themselves. These insights add depth and realness to their characters, Childhood dreams and illusions are stripped away, revealing a deeper, perhaps more poignant understanding of life and self. Such layering transforms the fairy tale narrative into a reflective commentary on psychological development. By viewing Into the Woods through the lens of initiation and psychosexual transformation, we offer a window into the timeless human tale of growth and self-awareness. It tells us that, like the characters, each of us must venture into our personal woods and face its challenges to emerge as a fuller, more complete version of ourselves. Herein lies the soothing cadence of the story, where calm prevails after the storm, and at night, under the peaceful skies, one can drift gently into slumber, cradled by the knowledge that the quest, while perilous, leads to understanding and profound transformation. In a peaceful realm, nestled between lush forests and towering mountains, lay the kingdom of Edoria. This serene kingdom, known for its harmonious coexistence with nature and other neighboring lands, was ruled by the benevolent and wise Queen Isabella. Under her gentle reign, the people of Eldoria flourished, enjoying peace, prosperity, and cultural richness. However, beneath this tranquil surface lay complex relationships and secrets that slowly unraveled the fabric of the young princess's journey. Princess Elara, the only child of Queen Isabella, was a curious and perceptive young woman. As the only heir to the throne, her upbringing was steeped in tradition and expectation. From a young age, Elara exhibited a wisdom and curiosity far beyond her years, traits that both intrigued and concerned her mother, the Queen. Queen Isabella, though a loving mother, was burdened by the weight of her own past. Her ascension to the throne had been marked by familial deception, a carefully orchestrated dance of alliances and betrayals. These experiences, albeit hushed in court whispers, shaped her into the wise ruler she was, but also instilled in her a keen sense of caution and distrust. As Elara's days unfolded, her mind brimmed with questions about the world beyond the castle walls, her place within it, and the stories that shaped her lineage. Sensing her daughter's burgeoning thirst for knowledge, Queen Isabella knew the time come for Elara to have a mentor, someone who could guide her, protect her, and reveal the truths that would be essential for her growth. Enter Lady Seraphina, the appointed mentor, who possessed a quiet strength and endless well of knowledge. Seraphina had served as an advisor to the royal family for many years and was known for her unmatched wisdom in diplomacy, history, and the mystical traditions of Eldoria. Her role was clear: to nurture the princess's potential and readiness for her future as a ruler. Under Lady Seraphina's mentorship, Elara's life began a transformative journey. Their discussions ranged from philosophy to governance, from science to the enigmatic arts of their ancient culture. Every lesson was a piece of the puzzle, each conversation a step towards understanding her own path. Yet, within these teachings lay subtle truths and quiet revelations that would slowly untangle the hidden aspects of her life. The bond between Elara and Seraphina flourished over time, anchored in mutual respect and a shared vision for peace and prosperity. It was within these exchanges that Elara began to uncover the complex dynamics of her mother's reign. Lady Seraphina, in her gentle way, introduced Elara to the notion of maternal deceptions, subtle plans woven by queens of old, including her own mother. Though driven by benevolent intentions, these concealed truths sometimes veiled crucial parts of reality, protecting yet misleading. Queen Isabella's own history of intrigue came to light in fragments and whispers, a tapestry of decisions made in love and fear. She shielded Elara, not only from the darker ploys of politicking, but also from the ghosts of past choices. These realizations were a crucible for Elara, a lens through which she learned to view power, responsibility, and morality. Through this journey, Elara awoke to the complexities of ruling with wisdom and compassion. The mentor figure, Lady Seraphina, became a guiding light, catalyzing Elara's awakening and sense of self. Elara's awareness expanded, recognizing her mother's actions not as betrayals, but as protective shields, designed out of love and foresight in an unpredictable world. As the stories and teachings unfolded, Elara forged her vision for Eldoria's future, balancing her mother's lessons with her own ideals. The delicate dance of maternal deception and mentoring became Elara's compass, guiding her towards becoming a leader who could navigate tensions with grace and wisdom. Queen Isabella watched with a mixture of pride and sadness as her daughter matured. The protective shelter she had built around Elara slowly expanded, allowing her to step into the sunlit world as a confident and wise young woman, ready to rule. In the end, it was not the overt exercises of power that shaped Princess Elara's journey, but the nuanced relationships and revelations of those who loved her. Through the quiet deceptions and insightful guidance, she learned to weave her path without losing sight of her own heart. In the fragrant gardens of Adoria, where the sunlight danced upon the leaves, Princess Elara stood ready. Her mother's heritage nestled within her heart, and Lady Seraphina's wisdom etched into her soul. It was a peaceful season, perfect for dreams and reflections, a promising prelude to a future of harmonious rule in Eldoria. The concept of time has always been both a friend and foe to humanity. Since the dawn of civilization, people have tried to master it, to understand it fully, and perhaps even to outwit it. Ancient societies, from the Mesopotamians to the Egyptians, the Greeks and the Romans, all grappled with the relentless forward march of time and what it represented. Aging, decay, and eventually death. The fear of the passage of time often stems from its inevitability. Each tick of the clock is a reminder of moments slipping away, moments we can never reclaim. For some, this prospect provokes a deep-seated anxiety. This is represented in stories and myths where time is given supernatural significance. Consider the Greeks with their fates, 3 sisters who controlled the destiny of mortals and gods alike, weaving the thread of life and cutting it at the destined moment. In ancient Rome, time was also a force to be reckoned with. The Romans adopted the Greek chronos, often depicted with a scythe, marking him as the harbinger of time's destructive power. This image has persisted into modern times, coloring our understanding of how time eventually claims all. Mesopotamians, considered one of the first advanced civilizations, implemented a calendar system. Based on lunar cycles, it provided them with a method to predict and plan agricultural seasons. Their ziggurats were not just religious centers, but also observatories, showcasing the importance they placed on tracking celestial bodies to mark time. To the Mesopotamians, time was both cyclical in its repetitive pattern and linear, as each year brought age and change to the people. The Egyptians, too, had a fascination with the eternal. Their monumental structures, such as the pyramids, were built to stand the test of time. They sought immortality through religious belief, mummification practices, and the monumentalization of their pharaohs. They viewed time as something that could be conquered through divine favor and proper rituals, allowing life to continue beyond the mortal world. In their belief, achieving eternity required pacifying gods through rites performed under the relentless desert sun, creating perfect resting places for a prosperous afterlife. An intriguing aspect of the ancient Egyptian civilization was their dual conception of eternity, Nihe and Dijet. Nihe referred to the cyclical nature of time that repeated itself, like the annual flood of the Nile, which they observed and cherished for its life-giving properties, whereas Dijet was linear time, never-ending and infinite, concepts that found their expressions in religious texts and enabled them to contextualize the divine and mortal realms. The clockwork mechanisms of later European cathedral clocks, as magnificent as they were, never silenced the possibility of time slipping away. The very act of building these enormous devices to track and display the passage of hours, days, and even astronomical phenomena bespoke an obsession with understanding and, perhaps, tame time's passage. Fast forward to the Renaissance, when European scholars began to divulge time into minute increments with the advent of more precise clocks. Humanity's obsession with measuring time reached a crescendo. Inventions in clockmaking were driven partly by the fear of this very concept, that human actions should be more synchronized, valuing every fleeting minute to a degree unimaginable in the past. Taking a peaceful reflective pause from the progression of time brings us back to an individual level, discovering the inherent stillness among the relentless passage of nature's timeline. Many scholars and philosophers have posited that in seeking ways to control or understand time, humans find beauty in stillness. Understanding eternity is not about apprehending every tick of the clock, but about absorbing the eternal now and appreciating the imperceptible movements of the stars, much like our ancestors did. The story of humanity's interaction with time is tinged with grand pursuits and humble realizations, leaving remnants of cultures and into the pages of history books. Thinking of time's inevitable power channeled through the wondrous relics left behind, These monuments and legacies suggest not triumphing over time, but appeasing the fear associated with it, an acceptance of eternity's grandeur, and a calming surrender into the tapestry of time itself. Once upon a time, in a realm where the skies always seemed to blush in shades of dusk and dawn, stood a forest, ancient and untamed, draped around the majestic Sleeping Beauty's castle like a guardian from the primordial past. But this was no ordinary forest. It harbored secrets within its boughs and whispered tales that were as old as the land itself. The trees, with their gnarled and twisted forms, spoke to those who dared to listen. Their language was not of words, but of feeling, an intuition that danced on the edge of consciousness. The rustle of leaves was a soft chuckle, the creak of branches a knowing nod. In this enigmatic realm, the forest was not merely a backdrop, it was a living character, shaping the destinies of those who wandered within its embrace. The people of the nearby villages believed that the forest held the subconscious fears and dreams of the world of fairy tales. They spoke of how, during the events of Sleeping Beauty's long slumber, the forest had woven itself into her dreams, safeguarding and nurturing her subconscious. To the wise and the young alike, the woodlands were both a sanctuary and a puzzle, offering safety to some and bewildering others with its labyrinthine paths. The forest's peaceful history was etched into its very soil. Unlike the battlegrounds of legends or the tempestuous seas of myth, this woodland was a tapestry of tranquility, a perfect refuge for those seeking solace or sleep. It was said to have stood for aeons, witnessing the rise and fall of dynasties yet remaining unchanged. Like a sentinel of time, it cradled the castle in its verdant arms during the princess's century of sleep, protecting her dreams from the chaos of the world beyond. The animals were gentle cohabitants, creatures who understood the forest's mysterious language without question. Deer grazed silently in the dappled sunlight, their every movement a graceful ballet. Birds wove melodies through the air, composing symphonies that only the trees could hear. And the streams babbled softly, singing lullabies that echoed through the night, harmonizing with the rhythm of the earth. As a character, the forest was one of wisdom and enigma. It knew the secret paths that led to the heart of dreams, the shortcuts through the mind's hidden corners. Its role in the fairy tale was not just as a setting, but as a guide through the subconscious terrain of Sleeping Beauty's imagination. It was here that fears were hushed and dreams were nurtured, where the mundane met the mystical. Visitors who ventured into its shade during times of quiet reflection often found themselves face to face with their own subconscious. The leaves would rustle in a way that mirrored their inner monologue, revealing truths that lay hidden in their hearts. Many emerged from the forest changed, carrying with them insights granted by the silent arbiter of the woods. The forest, ever observing, knew the balance between light and dark, and between the worlds of waking and dreaming. It symbolized the bridge between the seen and unseen, the conscious and unconscious, duality that defined the fairy tale world cradled within its bounds. And so it stood, a character as complex and layered as any protagonist, shaping the stories of those who dared to wander its paths. When the prince finally arrived and kissed Sleeping Beauty, waking her from the slumber of ages, the forest stood as a silent witness to the ending of an era. Its leaves sighed in the gentle breeze, as if in satisfaction, knowing that its role in the tale had been fulfilled. The castle gleamed under the newly awakened sun, and the forest hummed a lullaby of its own making, a song of peace and dreams to be carried on the wind for generations to come. And so the forest remained a constant in a world of change, cradling secrets and stories, always alive with the spirit of its narratives, an ever-watchful guardian of the realm between dreams and reality. Once upon a time, in a realm woven with enchantments and steeped in mystery, lay a tale that has whispered through the ages, the tale of Sleeping Beauty. It is a story that thrives on the delicate balance between good and evil, wisdom and folly, and at the center of this tale are the queenly figures who guide, steer, or ensnare its narrative. The first queen that we encounter in the Sleeping Beauty mythos is typically the caring and hopeful mother of the princess. In her most serene incarnation, she is depicted as a wise and gentle ruler, a beacon of kindness and love whose greatest wish is for the happiness of her daughter. This queen often represents the ideals of motherhood and governance, blending the role of a benevolent ruler with that of a nurturing parent. She sets the initial tone of the story as one of joy and expectation. In the well-known version by Charles Perrault, this queen is a hopeful figure whose desire for a child is fulfilled by the intervention of a supernatural fairy. Here, the queen is wise but doesn't foresee the complex web of interactions between the fairies and the fate of her daughter. Her role is limited to setting events in motion, trusting the realm of magic to safeguard her child's future. This portrayal threads a tapestry of peace and love, conjuring a tranquil history perfect for the calm of a peaceful slumber. However, across variations of the tale, queens become tangled in webs far more complex. In the Brothers Grimm iteration, the queen remains on the periphery of the story, her significance overshadowed by other women of power and intent, both benevolent and malevolent. Yet even in her silence, there is an implied wisdom and acceptance of fate, a tacit understanding of the greater cosmic threads at play. As the story wends its way through history, we find versions where the figure of the queen takes on a more duplicitous edge. Some interpretations introduce a wicked stepmother, embodying a dark mirror to the nurturing queen. This figure is driven by jealousy and self-preservation, her wisdom tinged with cunning as she seeks to undermine her stepdaughter rather than protect her. Here, the queen becomes a weaver of webs, ensnaring those around her in traps of her own making. Her actions are not drawn from malice for its own sake, but are often a calculated ascent to power or preservation of her status. The peaceful realm depicted through the lens of her ambition becomes a paradox. With every tranquil dawn that breaks, there lies an undercurrent of tension, a latent dread in her machinations. Such depiction finds resonance in some lesser-known adaptations where the queen's envy extends into darker territory. She may attempt to thwart the princess beyond the famous spindle and the curse, using everything from poison to manipulation. Her tangled web is one of chaos and complexity, a reminder that the line between protection and possession can be perilously slender. In contrast, other modern retellings afford the queen even greater wisdom. Some narratives rewrite her as an all-knowing figure, a seer or enchantress in her own right who battles ancient forces to shield her family. Her role expands to embody not just governance and motherhood, but also a guide through the mystical elements that encircle them. In these stories, the queen is a protector, her wisdom a compass that guides her daughter through the labyrinth of destiny. Meanwhile, the queen in the tale transforms from a background figure to a figurehead of empowerment and morality in feminist reinterpretations. These stories fortify her role, presenting her as an active participant in the unraveling of curses and the mending of her enchanted realm. She becomes a co-architect of fate, a strategist alongside her daughter rather than a passive artifact within her story. Within this kaleidoscope of narratives, the Sleeping Beauty tale transforms into a peaceful history, rich in variation yet unified in its exploration of queendom, motherhood, and the powerful thread of destiny. In every version and adaptation, the queen represents more than just a maternal figure or a piece on a chessboard. She is the embodiment of wise governance, the architect of a tranquil or tumultuous realm, a pivotal participant in the woven tapestry of her world. From wise and nurturing, to cunning and self-serving, to resolute and enchanting, the queens of these tales illuminate pathways and pitfalls. They underscore the stories of their enchanted daughters by providing a backdrop of wisdom or warning, tranquility or turmoil. Thus, Sleeping Beauty morphs into a wondrous narrative, one spun round in hues of serenity, perfect for the boundaries between wakeful lore and dreamy sleep. Through countless retellings and continual reweavings, each queen leaves her indelible mark, a constellation of fates written in thread, needle, and timeless dreams. In the dense mists of ancient legends, the tales of banshees and witches' wails emerge, shrouded in mystery and dread. These spectral cries have haunted the folklore of many cultures, casting a shadow of fear across the mortal realm. But within their eerie lamentations lies a rich tapestry of myths, connecting them to the fabric of human history and the collective consciousness of fear and foreboding. The banshee, a spectral figure from Irish folklore, wails in the night to foretell the death of a family member. Rooted in the ancient Celtic tradition, she is often depicted as a woman cloaked in white or gray, her hair flowing and her eyes red from weeping. Though her cry is chilling, it heralds both the inevitability of death and a mournful respect for the departed. The banshee's presence, therefore, is not merely a harbinger of doom, but also a guardian of the passage between life and death, ensuring that those who die receive their due rights and memorials. Across the sea in Scotland, her cries are echoed by the Bean Nigh, a washerwoman spirit said to be seen laundering the bloodied clothing of those yet to die. She symbolizes the intrusion of the supernatural into the mundane, a reminder that life and death are inextricably linked. In Wales, the Searath serves a similar function, its ghostly moans rising from the valleys to warn of impending death. Like the Irish Banshee, this spirit embodies the collective fear of mortality that pervades human existence. But unlike the Banshee, the Searath may haunt not only the dying but also the places they once inhabited, lingering as a testament to the inevitable claim of death. Stories of wailing spirits are deeply ingrained in Eastern European lore as well, with varied descriptions, but a common theme of spectral lamentation tied to death. The Slavic Rusalka, although often linked to water rather than night air, shares this mournful chorus. Known to metamorphose from beautiful maiden to vengeful spirit, she embodies the duality of life and the consequences of a life unfulfilled or tragically cut short. Their existence in stories across cultures elucidates an essential human craving for understanding the unknown, particularly the boundless mystery of death. These spirits have woven themselves into the societal consciousness, giving shape to fears that are both deeply personal and universally shared. Interestingly, in Japanese folklore, the yurei, or ghost, performs a similar role. These spirits are often depicted bound to the earth by unresolved desires or passions. Their keening wails, which echo through haunted locales, resonate with the torment of those caught between worlds. In many tales, these spirits wear a garment known as the funeral kimono, their arms hanging limply with wrists bound, a poignant image of souls trapped by the invisible fetters of their former life. These spirits collectively shape an atmosphere of fear that transcends geographic and cultural boundaries. They symbolize the embodiment of apprehension for the unknown, serving as a vivid reminder of the vulnerabilities of human existence. Indeed, the legends of folkloric spirits like banshees resonate not only as stories but also as profound commentaries on human emotion and cultural contexts. They thrive in a world full of shadows, representing the mysteries that lie just beyond the veil of mortal understanding, leaving a lingering echo in the corridors of our dreams, a perfect peaceful preamble for restfulness. In the end, as these tales circle back through the ages, the key element that persists is the voice of the banshee, guiding souls through the liminal spaces between worlds, heralding transitions not just for the departed but for those who continue in the light of day, contemplating the precarious balance of existence and the definitive peace of the world beyond. In a land steeped in the whispers of time, nestled between rolling hills and gentle streams, there existed a civilization where life and death were woven into the fabric of the earth itself. This place was known as the Valley of Eternal Rest, a serene enclave where the boundaries between the living and the departed seemed to blur with the passage of each peaceful day and serene night. The valley was a haven of tranquility, a cradle that welcomed new life with the tender embrace of the earth, and a grave that softly embraced the departed with the reverence of nature's eternal cycle. In this timeless world, the motif of sleep was sacred, symbolizing both the innocence of birth and the peace of passing beyond mortal bounds. When the moon bathed the valley in its silvery glow, the soft lullabies of night creatures filled the air. This was the hour of birth, when the ancients believed that the spirits of ancestors gathered to welcome new souls into the world. Mothers gave birth in a serene sanctuary known as the ancestral cradle. This cradle, an ancient stone structure, stood in the heart of the valley, adorned with woven tapestries depicting the stories of those who had come before. The ancestral cradle was a circle of smooth stones, each one engraved with the symbols of life, wisdom, and dreams. Newborns were brought here to lie upon a bed of soft moss, surrounded by the gentle hum of lullabies sung by their families. It was said that the spirits of the ancestors watched over the sleeping infants, imparting wisdom and dreams that would guide them on their journey through life. As the first light of dawn kissed the cradle, the mothers would scoop their children into their arms, whispering blessings of dreams and courage. The community would gather, their hearts united in a shared bond of life, and they would offer their joyful songs to the skies, a declaration of gratitude for the new life granted to them by the embrace of their ancestral land. When twilight claimed the day, and dusk settled like a soft blanket over the valley, it was a time to honor the departed. The burial grounds, known as the ancestral graves, lay in a sheltered grove where the trees grew tall and ancient. Here the ancestors rested, their sepulchres adorned with symbols of dreams fulfilled. Each grave was a work of art, a testament to a life lived in harmony with the land. Carvings of constellations, dreaming animals, and flowing water adorned the stones, illustrating stories of the past and the dreams held by those who slept beneath. The deceased were laid to rest with gentle care, their bodies wrapped in woven shrouds, crafted to mirror the night sky, a reminder of the eternal voyage of dreams upon which they were now embarked. In the valley, burial was another form of sleep, a transition into a state where dreams continued, unbroken and eternal. Families gathered at the gravesides to share memories, tell tales, and light lanterns that would flicker like stars above the resting places, a symbol of guidance and eternal light. The elders of the valley, known as the Dream Keepers, were tasked with maintaining the sacred rites of birth and burial. They were the guardians of the stories and dreams of the ancestors, reciting tales of old in the moonlit gatherings, where villagers would sit in a circle around flickering fires, letting the stories carry them to lands unknown and dreams yet unexplored. For the people of the valley, sleep was not merely a nightly rest or a final repose. It was the sacred journey of existence itself. Through sleep, they found renewal in life and a peaceful crossing into eternity. This understanding permeated their lives, wrapping their days in a tapestry of peace and dreams, a history perfect for the embrace of sleep. Indeed, the Valley of Eternal Rest was more than a place, it was a concept, a peace-enveloping existence, binding each soul to the earth and to each other in dreams that spanned generations. It was a living testament to the power of sleep as a bridge between life and death, birth and burial, past and future, a harmony of dreams cradled by the gentle hands of an ancient land forever in reverence of their ancestors, and the eternal sleep that united them all. In the shaded alcoves of historic European courts, the concept of courtly love flourished, casting its influence in the stories and traditions of medieval romance. Often described as an idealized and sometimes impractical form of love, this notion was rooted in the chivalric traditions, where knights and nobles articulated their devotion to ladies through poetry, songs, and feats of valor, positioning the beloved as an unattainable ideal. Courtly love was a structured, ritualistic practice, encapsulating a lover's unyielding dedication to their lady. This devotion was frequently unrequited, presenting love as a path of personal growth, inner turmoil, and romantic longing. Unlike the institution of marriage, which was primarily regarded as a social arrangement for strategic alliances and property acquisition, courtly love emphasized emotional connections and spiritual affection. The tradition of courtly love can trace its roots back to the troubadours of the 11th and 12th centuries in southern France. These composers and performers of old Occitan lyric poetry sang of refined passions and unattainable loves. Their chansons de geste and other narrative poems depicted love as an ennobling force, capable of inspiring great valor and fortitude, but also immense suffering and despair. The narrative of courtly love was later encapsulated in the form of the chivalric romance, a genre that flourished across medieval Europe. These stories intertwined themes of love, adventure, and chivalric ideals, contributing to a cultural zeitgeist that mixed the fantastical with the moral, urging knights to embark on quests that demonstrated their devotion and purity of heart, often in pursuit of a lady's favor. One classical narrative that embodies the tensions and virtues of courtly love is the tale of Lancelot and Guinevere, iconic figures of Arthurian legend. Sir Lancelot, a knight par excellence in King Arthur's court, epitomizes the chivalric ideals of bravery, strength, and loyalty. Yet, his profound and unwavering love for Queen Guinevere transgresses the boundaries of knightly duty and matrimonial fidelity. In the narrative, Lancelot's love is both a source of supreme nobility and profound torment, manifesting courtly love's dual nature of ennobling virtue and destructive idealism. Similarly, the tale of Tristan and Isolde presents another poignant exploration of the courtly love theme, depicting a love so intense and consuming that it defies social conventions and moral obligations. Despite the profound bonds of loyalty and friendship between Tristan and his uncle, King Mark, Tristan's overpowering love for Isolde leads to tragedy and dissolution. Their story embodies the inherent conflict within courtly love traditions, the yearning for a perfect, transcendent love that cannot be reconciled with the realities of human relationships and societal norms. Despite its narrative appeal and idealized portrayal, courtly love also faced considerable criticism from contemporaries and later scholars who viewed it as impractical, emotionally volatile, and socially disruptive. The theologian Andreas Capellanus, in his treatise De Amore, both codified and critiqued the conventions of courtly love, expressing skepticism regarding the viability of such passions and their compatibility with the ideals of Christian morality. In essence, courtly love served as a literary and cultural construct, symbolizing a delicate balance between beauty and pain, aspiration and limitation. The romance central to courtly love was both an escape from the often rigid and pragmatic realities of medieval life and a space for exploring the complexities of human emotion and societal expectation. Through its legacy, courtly love continues to inspire reflections on the nature of love, highlighting the universal human desire for connection, understanding, and transcendence amidst the challenges of existence. In a realm where kingdoms rose and fell with the whisper of conjured winds, where thrones were forged in the crucible of magic and ambition, the delicate dance of spells and sovereignty crafted the tapestry of history. Here, in the lands of Eldoria, the confluence of magic and monarchy was as eternal and unyielding as the mountains that framed the horizon. Legends of Eldoria speak of a time when kings were chosen not by birthright alone, but by an arcane prowess that commanded respect and fear in equal measure. The mighty King Arthur, who held the fabled scepter of Aether, was both monarch and archmage, his rule an embodiment of this inseparable bond between magic and power. His reign, though storied and grand, was a delicate balance. Eldoria's prosperity was matched only by the delicate webs of enchantment that kept it aloft. The halls of Arthur's castle echoed with the whispers of incantations, and the walls shimmered with enchantments designed to protect and preserve his dominion. Yet, amidst these echoes lived a tension, a hidden friction between the arcane practitioners and the royal bloodlines. The mages, who spun the fabric of reality with their incantations, often found themselves at odds with the sovereign ambitions of the ruling class. In the libraries of the castle, where dust motes danced in beams of enchanted light, the tomes recounted tales of these tensions that spanned centuries. One such tale was that of Lady Oriana, the sorceress of the Silver Moon. Unlike many of her contemporaries, Oriana's magic was born not from the dusty tomes and study but from an innate connection to the land and its secrets. Her power, raw and untamed, was both admired and feared. The chronicles tell of a time when Oriana's mastery grew to such an extent that the royal court became wary of her influence. Whispers behind closed doors suggested that perhaps her magic was too potent, too unpredictable. The king's advisors, steeped in the traditions of power and hierarchy, whispered counsel of caution into his ear. Magic, they asserted, should never outweigh the divine mandate of kingship. To mollify these fears, King Arthur extended a hand of friendship to Lady Oriana, inviting her to join the Council of the Arcane, cadre of poets and wizards entrusted with safeguarding the kingdom's esoteric knowledge. Despite the seemingly accommodating gesture, it was a move calculated to bind her in golden chains of duty and expectation. Yet Oriana, wise beyond her years, accepted not from fear of reprisal, but from a desire to weave her magic into the very essence of Eldoria. In the years that followed, the kingdom flourished under their combined stewardship. The intersections of power, rooted in mutual respect and understanding, painted a rare portrait of harmony between sorcery and sovereignty. Eldoria became known as a place where the wind sang with enchantment, and the rivers flowed with whispered incantations. The peace, however, was not eternal. With the passage of time, new monarchs ascended the throne with different perspectives and lesser patience for the enigmatic art of wizardry. Queen Elara, Arthur's descendant, ascended the throne with dreams of absolute control. Her vision for a kingdom of order and reason clashed with the unpredictable and mercurial nature of magic. Elara's reign saw the crafting of new laws aimed at subjugating the arcane beneath the iron fist of royal decree. Magic, in her eyes, was a tool to be bent to the will of the crown, stripped of its mystery, its chaos brought to heel. The decrees unwove the delicate tapestry woven by her ancestors, and tensions once dormant began to simmer. Mages were summoned, their abilities scrutinized, restricted, and categorized. Those who bristled at such constraints were deemed rebels, their practices monitored closely, some even imprisoned under suspicion of dissent. The grandeur and vibrancy of Eldoria dimmed under Alara's austere rule, as if the very essence of magic withdrew in silent protest. It was amidst this unrest that whispers of rebellion began to stir. The enchanted forests bore witness to clandestine gatherings of dissident mages, and the enchanted winds carried their vows of defiance to all corners of the realm. Lady Oriana, now aged and revered, became a beacon of hope for those who wished to see magic and nobility dance once more in harmonious concert. As the binds of oppression grew ever tighter, a clandestine faction known as the Circle of the Unseen rose from the shadows. Their aim was not to overthrow Queen Alara, but to restore the equilibrium, to remind the monarchy of the power that lay not in constraints but in collaboration. They sought not the crown, but the restoration of respect between mage and monarch. In the end, it was not through force but through wisdom and diplomacy that the kingdom found its way back to equilibrium. Oriana, standing before Alara, recounted the stories of old of kings and queens who had ruled with both scepter and spell. She spoke of a garden where flora bloomed not from order, but from the confluence of harmony and chaos. Moved by tales of Eldoria's past and Oriana's wisdom, a truce was reached. Sovereignty acknowledged the raw beauty of magic, and magic, in turn, embraced the sanctity of rule. New councils were formed where mages and nobles sat side by side, not as adversaries, but as allies. And so, the kingdom of Eldoria flourished, once more under a new dawn. The landscapes shimmered with renewed enchantment, and the realm's history embraced a narrative of peace and unity. In the quiet corners of the enchanted libraries, the tomes now recorded this new era, a chronicle of understanding achieved not through subjugation but through the enduring power of respect. Thus, as you lay your head upon the pillow, let the gentle waves of this tale ebby into the embrace of dreams, where magic and monarchy dance eternally in the realm of stories untold. Rest easy, for in Eldoria, the spells of harmony and the sovereignty of connection cradle us in their timeless lullaby. In a realm where twilight reigns supreme, nestled between the rigid demarcations of life and death, lay the enigmatic terrain of the tragic slumber. It was a place eternally shrouded in a gentle haze, neither fully awake nor entirely at rest, existing in the liminal space of sleep, where time felt infinite and boundaries dissolved like mist at dawn. And then, the tragic slumber was not merely a tale, it was an experience, an elusive journey that mirrored the fleeting nature of dreams and the profound stillness of comas. Those who ventured into its depths often found themselves caught in the delicate dance between consciousness and oblivion, exploring the metaphysical landscape where the soul embarked on its spiritual odyssey. And histories spoke of this realm as a sanctuary, yet under the tranquility lay an unsettling undercurrent, a composite of beauty and melancholy fluttering like the delicate wings of a night moth, a place that resonated with whispers of past lives and echoed the heartbeat of the universe. Among those who sought the tragic slumber, there was a scholar of old myths and celestial mysteries, a seeker of truths hidden beyond the known world. His name was Elaine, and his quest was to decipher the enigma of sleep, a puzzle interwoven with threads of death, rebirth, and the transcendence of the human spirit. Evan Nillian's journey began with ancient scrolls and arcane texts that spoke of the tragic slumber as both a haven and a test, a rite of passage for those who dared to step beyond mortality's veil. Described as a liminal abyss, it was said to cradle the sleepers in a womb of gentle night, nurturing their souls through epochs of unconscious voyages. To reach this fabled expanse, Elian ventured through vast histories, peaceful and serene, each laden with layers of forgotten wisdom and whispers of the wind. His path took him across lands where the air was fragrant with the scent of lavender, and the skies wore garments of deep indigo, each star a timeless sentinel observing the unfolding tapestry of existence. And then his footsteps led to forgotten sanctuaries, ancient temples where the very stones seemed imbued with the echoes of prayers long uttered. Here, he found the caretakers of sleep, keepers of dreams, wise souls who traversed the space between life and death as effortlessly as crossing a threshold. Nenthi welcomed Elian as a kindred spirit, recognizing in him the same thirst for understanding, the same reverence for the sacred balance of the universe. Guided by these custodians, A lion partook in rituals designed to thin the fabric between worlds, inviting the ethereal embrace of the tragic slumber to descend, and as the chants filled the air, an ethereal melody intricately woven with ancient incantations, Elian felt the gradual softening of reality's rigid edges. The world shifted, gently tilting into the embrace of a dreamscape where colors were richer and time meandered like a gentle stream. Then the tragic slumber unfolded before him. A vast expanse of dawn, tinted clouds scattered across horizons painted with hues of deep violets and golds. A celestial canvas where echoes of forgotten songs played amidst the silence of the eternal night. Here, the river of dreams flowed, a shimmering thread of silvery light curving lazily through the serene landscape, its waters whispering the secrets of time to those who dared listen. And then, Nelian stood at the river's edge, feeling the pulse of the universe synchronize with his own heartbeat, the dream and the dreamer becoming indistinguishable. Yet, eerily beautiful, there was a weight, a presence that lingered at the periphery of his awareness, reminding him of the delicate dance between life and death. Even in this profound stillness, revelations unfolded like the opening of flower petals at dawn. Elian saw visions of lives once lived, souls in transition, each story a tapestry woven with threads of longing, fear, and hope. In the river's reflection, he glimpsed the face of the world, its laughter, its tears, its infinite capacity for resilience, and in that moment, Elian understood the duality of the tragic slumber. It was both an escape and an encounter, a confrontation with one's deepest self, where the banal and the transcendent converged, blurring the distinction between waking life and the profound journeys embarked upon during sleep. Ina's sleep, he realized, was a temporary reprieve, a momentary pause at the precipice of life's continuity, a threshold where souls reflected on their earthly sojourns amidst the cosmic dance of stars. Kamas, in this sense, represented longer passages, deeper voyages where the spirit ventured further, touching realms unseen, unknowable to those anchored in wakefulness. Evan Nelian returned from the tragic slumber bearing gifts of wisdom and insight, his spirit aglow with a newfound understanding. He shared the tale of his journey, weaving stories like a masterful loom, each thread laced with the shimmering essence of dreams. Emen in history, he told, was akin to a tranquil slumber, a harmonious symphony of moments that cradled the sleeping soul into a peaceful oblivion, waiting patiently for the inevitable dawn of consciousness. Here, in this balance between pausation and revival, was the essence of existence, a testament to the eternal cycle of beginnings and endings, bound together by the liminality of sleep. And then in the wake of his revelations, Elian became a revered sage, his tales whispered across generations, an inheritance of wisdom that urged others to seek the tragic slumber, to embark upon their own quests through the liminal, and in doing so, find the peace that lay between life and death. In the realm of myths and legends, curses have always played a dual role, simultaneously feared yet respected for their power to dictate fate and inspire desperation and hope. Ancient tales weave intricate stories of how these mighty imprecations could either presage doom or paradoxically foster prevention and psychological resilience. The cognizance of curse and cure begins in a land suffused with tales as old as time itself. In this place, curses were not merely ominous incantations uttered in a moment of wrath. They were pivotal forces used to convey moral lessons and exact justice, shaping the destiny of individuals and civilizations alike. History records peaceful narratives that whispered gently through the corridors of time, yet occasionally a curse would cast a shadow, altering the fate of those involved. One needs to cast their mind back to the perfect serenity of ancient Greece, where curses were often poetic in nature. The tale of King Midas offers a prime example of how curses intertwined with cultural narratives about human folly and cosmic justice. Midas, intoxicated by the allure of gold, was granted the power to turn anything he touched into this precious metal. What he did not foresee was the consequential curse that made even his food and water transform into gold, leaving him on the brink of death. It is a tale that serves as a generous reminder of hubris, the fall from grace that follows excessive pride. Such narratives further elucidate the dual nature of curses, as they are both destructive and instructive. They cultivate resilience by forcing individuals to confront adversity, to seek cures, and ultimately, to discover inner strengths. By facing the ominous shadow of a curse, human perseverance is fortified. In another realm, The Old Norse sagas convey tales shrouded in the wintry mist of Scandinavia. These sagas spoke of curses that were more than words. They were irrevocable debts inscribed into the fabric of reality itself. The curse of Andvari's ring, a simple loop of gold, is renowned for bringing tragedy upon those who sought its immense power. It is a tale that deftly explores the consequences of greed and the relentless pursuit of power. The curse acts as a lesson inscribed over generations, passed from Scandinavian bards to quiet hearths, underscoring themes of resilience as characters struggled and sometimes even thrived amidst adversity. Scandinavian tales often used curses to reinforce societal values of honor and courage. The trials faced by individuals due to a curse could lead to an improved self-awareness and encourage the cultivation of virtues such as patience, bravery, and wisdom. Even amidst the peaceful culture of Celtic mythology, curses took on another shade. They were wrapped in mysticism and often emerged from pacts with otherworldly beings, as shown in stories of the Tuatha Danann, the infamous curse of Macha, which brought pain to the entire kingdom of Ulster, highlights how curses could act as balancing scales, meting out cosmic justice and ensuring that the morality of actions was always at the forefront. These stories did not just foretell doom, they inspired communities to abide by their cultural ethics, fostering resilience both individually and collectively. Yet, beyond the realms of mythology, curses have had an indelible impact on humanity's psychological landscape. When faced with impending doom by way of a curse, individuals and communities often found solace and strength in the act of working towards a solution. This is the cure. The storytelling tradition, of which curses are a vital part, has served to unite people in shared experiences of overcoming adversity. One cannot overlook the tales from Egypt, where curses protected tombs laden with gold and knowledge. They were said to invoke wrath upon those who disturbed the sanctity of the necropolis. While ominous, these curses often led to advancements in understanding the past, as seekers of knowledge and explorers made concerted efforts to avoid repercussions while uncovering the mysteries of ancient civilizations. The psychological resilience of archaeologists and their unyielding effort to decipher scripts and unlock secrets, despite the supposed curses, has been an enduring testament to human curiosity and endurance. In more recent times, curses have shed their fear-inducing skin and have taken on roles that are almost comforting. The notion that a curse exists can create an external locus of control, a way for people to explain misfortunes outside the realm of their own influence. This, paradoxically, imbues a sense of relief and can mitigate feelings of personal inadequacy. It redirects focus from blame to constructive coping mechanisms, fostering a different kind of resilience. The conundrum is clear: curses, while menacing, demand a potent kind of reflection and intervention that nurtures mental endurance. They force acknowledged helplessness and subsequent acceptance strategies, ultimately transforming perceived negatives into rites of passage, a deepening of character and belief. Thus, in the reverie of history, where tales offer narratives perfect for peaceful slumber, curses whisper reminders of their timeless impact on human resilience. Just as the morning sun gently chases away the shadows of night, the recognition of curses in myths delivers a sliver of hope in the form of human tenacity and the irrevocable bond between adversity and ingenuity. In the realm beyond time and reality, the guardians of the flames watch over the fragile balance between creation and destruction. These ethereal beings, shrouded in mystery and bathed in the warm glow of eternal fire, are the keepers of the hearth and the spindle. At the heart of their realm lies the Castle of Embers, whose walls are graced by flickering flames that speak of the past, present, and future. It is here that the delicate dance of fire's dual nature is most profoundly honored. The hearth, nestled deep within the castle, is more than a mere source of warmth and light. It is a symbol of life, a cradle for stories and dreams, where flames whisper ancient secrets and songs of creation. Around it, villagers from far and wide gather to share tales by the crackling fire, feeling its gentle embrace during the coldest of winters. It has been said that dreams born by the hearth have the power to reshape destinies, inspiring those who listen to embark on journeys unforeseen. Yet the castle also guards the hazardous spindle, a powerful relic capable of summoning flames that know no mercy. Where the hearth nurtures and guides, the spindle threatens and consumes. Its fire, though beautiful, is a wild force unleashed by anger, greed, or recklessness. Many stories recount the tragic fate of those who sought to wield the spindle for their own ends, a hunger for power that invariably led to ruin. The guardians, ever vigilant, strive to keep the spindle's force contained, knowing its raw, untamed energy could unravel the fabric of life itself. In the nearby village, elders often recount tales of Nera, a wise guardian who once visited their world in human guise. Nera's heart ached for those who walked the thin line between life, giving warmth, and life, taking inferno. She would wander from hearth to hearth, teaching the sacred art of fire tending, nurturing the spark with patience and love so that it may never transform into a devastating blaze. Her teachings linger in the songs sung by mothers to their children, stories carried on the wind from one generation to the next. It is said that fire's dual nature is mirrored in the lives of humans too, each person carrying within them both the gentle flame of creation and the daunting blaze of destruction. Often, life's journey is the pursuit of harmony, learning to master one's inner fire lest it consumes them fully. One such tale is that of Aaron, a young blacksmith, whose forge was the heart of the village. Fire danced on his anvil, sparks showering like stars, each metalwork as much a prayer as it was a creation. But desire burned brightly within Aaron, a wish to create something that would change the world. Guided by ambition, he unknowingly turned to the spindle, dreaming of harnessing its untamed fire. The night Aaron chose to use the spindle, the skies themselves blushed with unease. The village watched as flames spiraled upwards, far beyond the control of any mortal hand. A haze of ash swallowed the stars, and Aaron, realizing his mistake, cried for Nera's guidance. Her voice echoed as a gentle breeze, reminding him of the stories of old of balance and respect. With every ounce of determination, Aaron fed his own life force into the chaotic blaze, trading moments of his existence to quell the ravenous fire. Slowly, the inferno bowed to his will, retreating back into the spindle, which he surrendered to the guardians. Though wearied and marked by the encounter, Aaron emerged wiser, more attuned to the hum of life around him. From then on, the forge wasn't only a place of work for Aaron, but also a sanctuary. Villagers came not only to marvel at his artistry, but to listen to his stories of fire's duality, the glowing hearth and the perilous spindle. Many say that the warmth felt there, beside the forge, was unlike anything else, as if the very heart of the castle of embers beat alongside them. Reflecting on these tales, one comes to understand fire as a profound metaphor for human existence. It is simultaneously birth and death, a light in the dark, and a shadow in the light, a force that can forge worlds or unravel them. Historical fragments from their realm, like clues left on forgotten trails, continue to speak of past fires. Troy Villa, as they call it, was destroyed by fire. You can still see the marks if you look closely: scorched stones, shattered pottery. There are no bodies here, no skeletons left in the doorways, no mass graves. But there are clues: broken slingstones clustered in corners, burned grain still tucked in storage jars, a collapsed wall where someone may have made a last stand, or simply tried to escape. Nera's legacy and the tales of the guardians remind us that in every spark lies both a promise and a warning. Through mindful stewardship of one's inner fire, they champion a world where life thrives, breathing softly against the rhythm of the flames. In the ancient world, the rhythm of life was often synchronized with the natural world, a cadence of pagan heartbeats. These heartbeats echoed through the valleys and over the hills, reverberating in the daily lives of those who walk the earth, reflecting a profound connection to nature and the multitude of deities that represented its aspects. The rituals of sowing and reaping, of life and death, were stained with the hues of myth and legend. In these early days, the stories were woven into the very fabric of existence. Pantheons rose across the lands, from the Olympian gods of Greece to the Norse deities of the icy north, each nuanced with its own legends, gods, and goddesses. The sun, moon, and stars were not just celestial bodies, but entities with distinct identities and tales. As centuries passed, the whispers of a single god began to drift across the winds, gently at first. This was the dawn of Christianity, a new narrative with a singular divine focus that would sweep across continents, bringing with it a different way of understanding the cosmos and humanity's place within it. The transition from pagan mythology to Christian narrative overtones was not abrupt. It was, in many ways, a slow, peaceful melding, a harmonious weaving of mythologies where one began to cloak the other. A narrative alchemy was at work, transforming worldviews and integrating Christian moralistic themes into the heart of pagan stories. As Christianity spread, pagan tales evolved to include Christian virtues. The thread of pagan heartbeats shifted from stories centered on the whims and caprices of multiple deities to those highlighting Christian ideals: faith, hope, redemption, and love. The old myths were often retold with new insights. Consider the legend of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, a tale that has walked through the centuries shadowed with both pagan and Christian influences. The earliest tellings of this legend were deeply rooted in Celtic mythology, with the magician Merlin and the mystical Avalon at its heart. Yet, as the narrative matured, Christian elements began to seep in. The quest for the Holy Grail emerged, becoming a symbol of divine grace, a Christian relic interwoven into the fabric of the stories. The Grail quest emphasized the virtues of purity and faith, transforming the narrative landscape. Knights who once sought glory through mere valor began to seek spiritual enlightenment and service to God. Arthur's tale, once deeply enmeshed in the earth and stone of pagan myth, grew to reflect Christian ethical themes, illustrating the changing ethos of the time. Another example can be seen in the evolution of the Beowulf epic. Initially, a story of heroism against the monstrous Grendel and the dragon that followed, Beowulf's tale resonated with the rhythm of pagan heroism. But as Christianity permeated the cultural and literary atmosphere, new layers were added. The character of Beowulf was reframed not just as a warrior, but as a Christ-like figure, sacrificing himself for the good of his people, dying not just a hero's death, but a salvational one, echoing the Christian narrative of redemptive sacrifice. This dual narrative continued to illustrate a peaceful coexistence. Stories like those of Icelandic sagas continued to hold on to their Norse roots, yet often included Christian framework. With each telling, an unspoken dialogue between pagan past and Christian present existed. Across medieval Europe, from the green hills of Ireland to the expansive forests of Germany, tales shifted slowly, carrying with them centuries of cultural and religious syncretism. Bards and storytellers breathed life into legends that kissed the edges of both belief systems. Stories became a bridge between worlds, grounding the listener in known tradition and guiding them towards new light. In art and literature, this blend was evident. Once pagan symbols found harmony side by side with Christian iconography, churches were often built upon sacred pagan sites, their construction materials parts of the landscapes where sacred groves once stood, illustrating the seamless architectural transition from old ways to new beliefs. These spaces, imbued with history, served as reminders of the convergence of worlds. This blending of tales meant more than religious conversion. It represented a cultural dialogue, a peaceful negotiation between two vibrant understandings of the universe, ensuring that stories, regardless of their origin, remained alive and resonant, carrying forward threads of their diverse pasts into the lives of those who heard and retold them. Pagan heartbeats did not disappear. They endured within the steady hum of the earth beneath the snow. They lived in the wild, untamed forests, in the hush of ancient stones, and in those moments where the divine felt imminently present. In societies transitioning to Christian dominion, pagan symbols took on new meanings, but retained their mystical allure, representing deep continuity rather than rupture. Thus, the narrative shift from a world dominated by pagan deities to one inspired by Christian overtones is a testament to human capacity to adapt, to integrate, and to preserve. The legacy of such stories reminds us of our connection to the ancient, echoing through time, dormant, perhaps, but never truly silent. The tale of overit rituals, symbolic growth, is a serene narrative that whispers gently through the echoes of historical time, weaving a peaceful spell perfect for bedtime reflections. At its heart, the story explores the transformative journey of adolescence, a delicate and tumultuous rite of passage mirrored beautifully through a series of symbolic motifs within the story. The tranquil garden, lush and vibrant, becomes a metaphor for the awakening of potential and the burgeoning growth of young adulthood. Meanwhile, the ancient spinning wheel represents the intricate weaving of identity, spun from the threads of childhood into the tapestry of adult life. The narrative begins in a small, sleepy village nestled among rolling hills, where the rhythmic hum of a spinning wheel is a familiar, comforting sound. It is here that the protagonist, a young adolescent on the brink of a new chapter, learns the timeless art of spinning from an elder whose eyes carry the gentle wisdom of years. This spinning wheel, creaking softly in the cool breeze, becomes a powerful symbol of the cycles of life, each rotation a metaphor for continuity and change, threading the past through the present to shape a future yet unwritten. As the tale unfolds, the reader is led gently through the age-old rituals of adolescence. Seen through the lens of a peaceful historical backdrop, the small town is a haven untouched by strife, with history etched quietly upon its cobblestones. Here, traditions are cherished, providing a warm, nourishing environment for the young protagonist to explore self-discovery and the gentle tug of growing responsibilities. The lush castle gardens, with their cascading roses and labyrinthine hedges, mirror the complexity and verdant potential of adolescence. Within their tranquil confines, secrets unfold and dreams take root, hidden away amid whispering leaves. These gardens are a sanctuary, a space of peace and introspection where the protagonist finds solace and a deeper understanding of their emerging identity. In these serene groves, symbolizing both growth and protection, the protagonist learns to cultivate patience and resilience. As night falls, the moonlight casts ethereal shadows upon the garden paths, illuminating a quiet procession of tradition and growth. The stars above are silent witnesses to the perpetual rituals of life and transformation that play out below. Here the more subtle symbols of the tale emerge, like the shifting patterns of shadow and light, suggesting the dualities inherent in personal development: joy and sorrow, fear and courage. By the end of the narrative, our young protagonist stands at a threshold, ready to step into the world as an independent being. The spinning wheel, having threaded its final fibers, is slowly stilled. The garden, once a cocoon of safety, now stands as a launching ground into the vast unknown. Yet even with this inevitable change, the village remains a beacon of peace and continuity, enfolding the protagonist in timeless traditions that soothe the soul and inspire gentle dreams. In the soft twilight of history, the songs of silence and sleep weave a tapestry of tranquility and peace across the ages. These stories, both gentle and profound, explore how humanity has sought solace in restful spaces, where silence reigns and tranquility is uninterrupted. From ancient times to our contemporary world, the narratives reveal a universal longing for quietude amidst the clamor of daily life. In ancient Mesopotamia, the ziggurats stood tall like sleeping sentinels, their terraces touching the sky, each layer a step closer to the heavens. These monumental structures were not just religious edifices, but sanctuaries of tranquility. The high priests, in the stillness of night, chanted verses to the stars, their voices soft and harmonic. Within their chambers, sound was absorbed by thick walls, and silence was punctuated only by the gentle susurration of wind. Moving westward, the Greeks and Romans had their own notions of restful spaces. Ancient Romans cherished their hortus, a secluded garden, where water trickled from marble fountains, and the scent of blooming flora mingled with the soft rustling of laurel leaves. The hortus was a space of reflection and sleep, echoing the philosophies of peace that the Stoics taught. For the Greeks, the temple of Artemis was a symbol of perfect harmony. It was said that its serene beauty alone could put the mind at rest, an architectural lullaby. Silence, for the medieval monks in Europe, was a sacred endeavor. In the cold stone monasteries of the Benedictine order, silence was a path to divine understanding. As they transcribed texts by candlelight, intermittent chants would drift through corridors, each note carefully woven into the fabric of silence, creating an epitome of contemplative sleep. These echo chambers of serenity fostered sleep that was undisturbed, a haven from the chaos of feudal life. In the East, the Zen gardens of Japan exemplify historic pursuit of tranquility. Composed of stone, sand, and minimal flora, the gardens invite a meditative quiet where raked patterns mimic the gentle expanse of water's ripple. Here, the absence of sound in these gardens mirrors the void one seeks in sleep, a blank slate for rejuvenation and reflection. Traveling further in time, we arrive at the Transcendentalist era in America. Walden Pond, made famous by Henry David Thoreau, became an emblem of simple, natural living, an idyllic refuge where sleep was uncorrupted by urban cacophony. In the stillness of its waters and the rustle of woodland creatures, one found the purest lullaby nature could offer. Contemporary interpretations of restful spaces have evolved, yet they remain rooted in these profound, historic ideals. Modern design often emphasizes minimalism and natural elements to mimic nature's inherent calm. Silent retreats, driven by a fast-paced lifestyle's very chaos, are rising in popularity. Spaces devoid of digital distractions encourage individuals to explore inward reflection, promoting peace of mind and, consequently, restful sleep. The songs of silence and sleep continue to narrate the timeless pursuit of tranquility. Historically and today, restful spaces reflect our deepest selves, yearning for silence in a world increasingly dense with sound. These storied spaces, be they gardens, monasteries, or bedrooms, are testaments to humanity's enduring relationship with the tranquil power of silence, crafting sanctuaries for the soul where the art of sleep is perfected. The tale of Sleeping Beauty has been a muse for artists throughout history, providing a canvas on which they explore the dualities of innocence and darkness. The story, steeped in enchantment and danger, has evolved artistically from its folk origins to its more contemporary interpretations. As we journey through time, we can witness how painters have been both enthralled and troubled by the tale. Indeed, a painter's dream or nightmare. In the late Middle Ages, the earliest renditions of Sleeping Beauty were found in tapestries and illuminated manuscripts. These medieval depictions focused on the fairy tale's enchanting allure. The sleeping maiden was often portrayed in serene repose, draped in opulent fabrics, symbolizing purity and nobility. Such art often leaned towards idyllic portrayals, with an emphasis on the tranquility and calm that the spell-bound sleep embodies. Yet even in these peaceful settings, there lingered an air of the uncanny, as the narrative was dictated not only by an endearing kiss but by a curse. The Renaissance period saw a shift. Artists delved deeper into human emotion and psyche, coming to grips with the conflicting themes of the narrative. One finds that Leonardo da Vinci might have envisioned a sleeping beauty, not just as a portrait of dormant innocence, but as a study in contrasts, a play of light and shadow dancing across the subject's face, perhaps hinting at the darker spell that silences her vitality. This era's art often explored texture, depth, and the interplay of light, thus imbuing familiar subjects with a new profundity. As the Baroque period flourished, more attention was given to dynamic compositions and dramatic contrasts. In this age of emotional excess, artists captured Sleeping Beauty moments before her awakening. Tension and drama filled the canvas, highlighting the moment of transformation from slumber to awakening. Roots of nightmare quietly interwove with the dream, like narrative, the grim presence of fate lying under the brush's surface. An aura of solemn fate surrounded the sleeping figure as artists considered the consequences of desire and innocence in deeper, more visceral ways. The Romantic era heightened this emotional intensity further, as fascination with the sublime and the fantastical took center stage. In this period, we often observe a painter such as John Everett Millis focus not only on the sleeping character herself, but on the environment that cradles her. A forest so verdant yet so paradoxically silent, it almost amplifies the ominous undertone. The colors of the forest, deep and often exaggerated, frame the Sleeping Beauty, ironically reflecting the life she is missing while enveloped in slumber. Moving into the late 19th and early 20th century, with the rise of symbolism and later surrealism, depictions of Sleeping Beauty underwent another transformation. Symbolist painters, captivated by the mystery and metaphysical aspect of the tale, often portrayed her in a dreamlike state with an almost fatalistic fatalism, entwined in ethereal elements suggesting a world far more complex and layered than the simple fairy tale. This exploration into subconscious and dreams brought out darker undertones, revealing an unsettling exploration of the psyche and the fear residing within the frozen frame of beauty. Surrealists, taking clues from the dreams, untethered her from narrative confines altogether. Here the story became not just a scene, but an exploration of the subconscious, a portrayal more abstract, where innocence was entwined with the complexities of desire and instinctual fears. Throughout these ages, the painter's brush has played with themes of stillness and silence, innocence and danger, dream and nightmare, in depicting Sleeping Beauty. The gentleness of her repose belies the sinister origins of her state, a curse. Yet, within their infinite treatments and complexities, these works collectively offer a mirror to the human regard for the mysteries of sleep, enchantment, and inevitable awakening. Thus, the tableau of Sleeping Beauty, as crafted on canvases across centuries, suggests that art itself inhabits that liminal space, between stories told and untold, between a dream and its accompanying night terrors, affording us the canvas to contemplate beauty, time, and the mysteries sleep in folds. In the quiet tapestry of history, there exist characters who, through their roles as guardians and gatekeepers, embody the age-old societal ideals of control and guidance. Their presence serves as a testament to humanity's enduring need for protection, security, and order. The annals of history, often turbulent and chaotic, have always been punctuated with periods of tranquility and peace, where guardians, those protectors of tradition, stood steadfast. These figures, whether in the guise of fairies whispering through the woods or royals perched upon gilded thrones, shaped the course of civilization gently, subtly guiding their peoples. Forests deep and ancient held their own secrets, which were zealously guarded by ethereal fairies. These sprite-like entities lurked in the shadows, watching over the flora and fauna with a vigilant eye. They nurtured the land, carefully weaving peace into the very fabric of nature. Their role was one of nurture, pulling the threads of life into order and balance, ensuring that every leaf and creature prospered within the old, towering trees. Tales abound of travelers led astray or guided to safety by these whimsical fairies. Through their guiding touch, they reflected an idealized form of governance, one that maintained harmony invisibly, silently, without ever overshadowing the entities they protected. As guardians of the natural world, they held a reflection of steadfast resilience, keeping chaos at bay and providing a calm, serene refuge for those who wandered too far. In realms governed by men and women of crowns and thrones, guardians took on more palpable forms. The historical chronicles reveal kings and queens who embraced the role of sentinels, their sovereignty not merely a symbol of power and might but a mantle of responsibility to shield their subjects from discord. They presided over their domains with a watchful gaze, embodying ideals of justice, fairness, and stewardship. Royal courts were often punctuated with the presence of wise counselors, those who stood as advisors to the throne, wielding knowledge as both shield and sword. These figures, often unseen but always present, crafted strategies to maintain peace, ensuring that the kingdom flourished under their sage guidance. Their roles transcended mere politics and laws. They became personifications of calm in tumultuous times, orchestrating the intricate dance of peace. In times of peace, such guardians became invisible. Their labor was unrecognized, for a land at peace rarely acknowledges the struggles of maintaining such a state. Yet, their influence rippled through time, gently steering the course of history towards progress. Thus, history, when gazed upon through the lens of such protectors, emerges not as a cacophony of upheaval, but as a serene narrative of guidance, where the hands of guardians and gatekeepers ensured that societies were nurtured, protected, and guided. Yet, their efforts bore fruit in the simple joys of daily life, whispers of prosperity, celebrations of tiny victories, and the slow but steady growth of cultures amid the silence. In these portrayals, the narrative of humanity turns restful, placing emphasis on the continuity of peace maintained by those who stood vigil over it. Just as a guardian cradles the vulnerable, so did history cradle civilizations, gently wrapped in the ideals of patience and persistence. Such stories permit solace, much like a lullaby sung with the tenderest of voices, lulling one into tranquility. In embracing these roles of guardians and gatekeepers, societies find comfort, a quiet reminder that even within the vast expanse of history, vigilance and guidance make room for rest. And so, the stories continue flowing endlessly, like a river that passes through valleys quiet and green, with guardians standing at the banks, ever watchful, ever gentle, ensuring that peace flows unimpeded forever. Once upon a time, nestled on the edge of a grand expanse of forest, there stood a majestic castle. Its towers reached towards the skies like the fingers of an old gnarled hand, grasping at the heavens. Built with stones quarried from distant mountains, the castle was a testament to human ingenuity and determination, a mighty fortress designed to keep the wilderness at bay. Yet, over time, the castle began to tell a different story. It was a story of nature's quiet, inexorable reclamation, a testament to the dispassionate power of the natural world set against the fragile constructs of humankind. As the decades turned into centuries, the castle's proud demeanor softened under the persistent embrace of the forest. Ivy, with its tenacious grip, clambered up the sides of the weathered walls, caressing the stone as if to soothe the jagged scars of battles long past. Mighty oak trees, once kept firmly outside the imposing walls, began to encroach on the castle's territory, their roots spreading like silent invaders beneath the fortress's foundations. The knights who had once patrolled the battlements were gone, their armors long since rusted away, leaving behind only ghostly echoes that whispered through the abandoned corridors. In their place, deer wandered, timid yet curious, their gentle presence a reminder that life continued, regardless of human dominion. Birds nested in the cracks between stones, their sweet melodies filling the air where once only the clangor of weapons and the calls of sentries were heard. Wildflowers bloomed where banners had once waved, vibrant hues painting the landscape in nature's tapestry. The castle's moat, long dry after years of neglect, filled with rainwater until it transformed into a thriving ecosystem teeming with life. Frogs sang in chorus, ducks glided across the surface, and even the occasional heron would pause in the shallows to hunt for fish. The banners that had so proudly declared the might of human endeavor lay forgotten beneath the soil, their symbols meaningless in a world reclaimed by the wilderness. Inside the castle, the great hall, which had once echoed with the sounds of feasts and revelry, was now a tranquil haven. Moonlight filtered through the high, broken windows, casting gentle shadows on the flagstones. The ground underfoot had sprouted patches of greenery, a precursor to the small saplings beginning to take root. A lone owl roosted in the rafters, a silent sentinel watching over this reclaimed domain. It was as if the very stones of the castle sighed in relief, embracing the peace that the natural world brought. The library within, filled with the tomes of knowledge and records of human achievement, was now home to the rustling of pages stirred by the wind, a gentle reminder of the stories of old. The ink faded, yet the mysteries of the world outside these walls unfolded anew with every sunrise. The castle, once a beacon of human triumph over nature, had become a sanctuary not of humanity's making, but of nature's design. It thrived not as a monument to human endeavor, but as a living example of nature's unyielding persistence. In this place there was no fear, only a tranquil acceptance of the balance that life demands. Here was harmony, achieved not through conquest, but through surrender to the rhythms of the earth. Through the changing seasons, the forest continued its quiet work, its creeping tendrils and towering canopies telling a timeless tale of resilience. Each leaf that unfurled, each root that found purchase, whispered the truth of a world where nature endures, indifferent to the whims of those who attempt to bend it to their will. The castle, once a mighty fortress, now lay at peace, a part of the endless cycle of growth and decay, a reminder of the impermanence of human constructs before the vast, unrelenting power of the natural world. And so, under the watchful gaze of the stars, the forest sang its gentle lullaby, cradling the sleeping castle in the embrace of time. The tale of the glass coffin, painted in the delicate strokes of myth, whispers through the corridors of our shared consciousness. Thus, let me weave you a story of sleep and death, and how we yearn to conquer both with the promise of eternal life. Once upon a time in an ancient realm, there existed a village nestled in the misty folds of mountains. It was a place where time seemed to rest itself, where the rhythm of the day was punctuated by the gentle lullabies of the wind through the trees, and where the night blanketed everything in a tranquil slumber. Here resided a young woman named Elara, whose eyes sparkled with the mysteries of the universe and whose heart beat with the stubborn cadence of life. Elara was a weaver of dreams, known for crafting tapestries that captured the essence of life's ethereal beauty. She had a secret, however, that she shared with no one every night. She dreamed of a glass coffin. In her visions, it lay beneath the roots of the eldest tree, draped in shadows, yet it gleamed in her mind's eye with an unsettling clarity. The sleep of the villagers was peaceful, unmarred by restless phantasms. But Elara often awoke from her dreams with her heart pounding in time with an ancient pulse, her mind drifting to the image of the coffin, an impossible blend of transparency and obscurity, inviting and forbidding, a paradox of death and preservation. Legend spoke of the coffin as both a prison and a promise. Those who feared death sought its embrace, for within its glass confines lay the potential for eternal rest untethered by mortality's grasp. Yet stories told of those who entered, not dead but merely asleep, hoping for resurrection, their still faces awaiting the breath of life to kiss them awake. As a child, Elara heard tales of those who wished for immortality, reminding her of Icarus, whose desire led him to the sun. Was not the coffin a similar folly, a temptation for those yearning to transcend the natural order? Sleep, in its gentle descent, becomes a rehearsal for death. It is a tribute to what lies beyond the curtain of waking life, a surrender to the vast unknown. From the folds of sleep, we emerge each morning, reborn with dreams losing their dimming echoes to daylight reality. Yet, contrasting this simple resurrection, the motif of the glass coffin introduces ambiguity. Unlike tranquil slumber, a death-like sleep is suspended animation, hovering between being and non-being, where the continuity of life pauses. For many nights, Elara pondered the conundrum of life entombed within the coffin. Her curiosity, a piece of flotsam on the current of her fate, carried her closer to the knowledge she sought yet feared. Winter descended upon the village, wrapping it in silver-white solitude. One cloudless night under a cloak of stars, Elara found herself drawn irresistibly towards the ancient woodland, where her dreams converged with reality. The path was illuminated, it seemed, by her dreams, leading her further into the heart of the forest. By moonlit graced, she found herself standing before the eldest tree, its roots cradling the glass coffin her dreams had foretold. It shimmered with an ethereal presence, tangible and otherworldly, silent as the grave. Kneeling down, she peered inside. The face within was serene, expression unmarked by time's passage. Locked in an eternal vigil of sleep, neither fully alive nor entirely gone. In that moment, Elara grappled with the reflections of her soul. Was the spectre inside enthralled to death, or simply enveloped in a boundless sleep? Was resurrection merely another word for wakefulness after an enduring slumber? At that moment, in the silence of deep night, a realization unfurled within her. Sleep indeed was a cousin to death, comforting in its inertia, while we remain tethered to life's frail thread. Yet our persistent desire for eternal life is what drives us towards the coffin, towards seeking an escape from death's irrevocability. Maybe we had forgotten the simple beauty of transience, the sacredness of a life lived with the consciousness of its brevity. Elara withdrew from the glass coffin, its mysteries now a companion to her thoughts rather than an allure to be explored entirely. She turned away, leaving it in its cocoon of roots, and walked back through the sleeping forest. Upon returning to the village, she continued to weave her dreams, but now with threads of newfound wisdom, intertwining motifs of mortality and rebirth, inviting all who saw her work to ponder the dance between sleep and death, and the grace of life in between. For amid our stories of eternal slumber and resurrection linger quieter truths, that peace lies within acceptance of the cycle, where each sleep is a surrender and every waking a triumphant return, a rehearsal for the final dance, a pause from which new songs begin anew. In the realms of ancient history, a vast ocean of stories floats uncharted, invisible to the sands of time. These tales, akin to myths like Sleeping Beauty, once resonated through the hearts of societies, only to slip through the ages unwritten and thus forgotten. They existed in murmurs, in lullabies sung by mothers, in the whispers of campfire gatherings, tales that held the magic of peace and the promise of sleep. Among these were stories of societies that thrived in harmony, where history was a gentle stream, perfect for lulling a child to slumber. Picture Troy Villa, as archaeologists named it, an ancient city swathed in mystery and lore. It met its end in fire, as marks still visible in the charred stones and shattered pottery attest. Yet this city holds no remains of its people, no skeletons clinging to doorways or graves bearing witness to mass tragedies. Instead, it harbors clues, fragments of stories eager to be told. There are the broken slingstones huddled in corners, burnt grains resting in storage jars, and the haunting image of a wall that collapsed, harboring tales of last stands or desperate escapes. Could it be that Troy Villa's story was more than a tale of destruction? Perhaps there were celebrations that dotted its history, where music flowed as freely as wine and the city danced under a canopy of stars. These unwritten tales spoke of peaceful days that knew not the cruelty of war, but the beauty of human bonds. Markets bustling with fragrant goods, streets echoing with laughter, and sunsets painting the skies with hues of promise. Journey now through the echoes of past cultures, where each unseen chapter ripples across generations, weaving through the fabric of time. In every corner of the world, narratives ebbed and flowed from one civilization to another, changing forms, colors, and dreams, much like whispers of the wind. They carried with them snippets of distant lands, the mystique of the Orient, the vibrancy of African drums, the poetic whispers of the Arabs, all touching and transforming part of the great human saga. Consider the tales told under starlit skies, words passed from elder to child, their essence evolving but remaining ever potent. In Africa, there might have been a tale of an evergreen wood where animals spoke and rivers sang, a tranquil forest untouched by the ravages of human time. Gathered under the baobab tree, elders might spin stories that taught life's lessons, conveyed wisdom, and imparted a sense of belonging to every soul in attendance. Similarly, across the vast steppe, perhaps a Mongolian legend persisted in stunning invisibility, singing of horses that flew with the wind, herdsmen whose friendship with the spirits of the plains brought balance and bounty to the tribes. These stories, though untold in written word, linger in the ethos of their people, like melodies half forgotten, half remembered. Towards the east, in the land of the rising sun, secret stories rested within cherry blossoms. Sung in the gentle syllables of Japanese haikus, they captured the serenity of life, moments of ephemeral beauty, the grace in every falling petal. And just like untouched snow wrapping the rugged terrains of the Himalayas, a Buddhist parable would softly unravel, teaching of peace found within, of simple living and mindful existence. As Europeans once scrawled tales onto parchment, crafting fables, Europe's lands were not void of such mysteries. The Celtic folklore whispered of fairies and enchanted woods, of green hills hiding ancient playwrights' dreams, of heroes' slumbers waiting for a time to awaken. In the Scandinavian Jords, sagas sung of Norse gods, paralleling peaceful earth tales never etched into runes or carved into history. Each culture held these elusive threads of narratives, interlinking ages and worlds. Family ties woven stronger through generations, values cherished silently and carefully curated across time. The history of peace is an invisible edifice, the cornerstone of humanity's sleep. Here lie the unsung heroes and the untold heroines, neither needing a vanquisher nor a villain. They inspire an age of storytelling to reshape, rediscover, preserve even more hauntingly beautiful silences. Consequently, as much as tales of drama and conflict illuminate our paths, it is these forgotten, peaceful narratives that nourish the soul and lay foundations for dreams. Herein lies the mystery and majesty of humanity amidst chaos. We continue to find our lullabies. So slip into slumber, where the pages of the forgotten take wing, revealed in dreams as vivid as the stars, and in dreams no story is forgotten. Once upon a time, in a world not unlike ours but shrouded in the mist of legends, there stood vast kingdoms each with their unique grandeur and tragic decay. These were the sleeping empires where prosperity had waned and opulence withered into memory. The lands were lush yet silent, resonating with whispers of ancient ballads and fractured tales of valor. In this world, the brave princes emerged as harbingers of change. These princes were not just heirs to thrones but catalysts for revival. Their tales weaved through the tapestry of history, performing heroic feats that echoed the fierce resolve seen in historical revolts and renaissances. Among these tales is the narrative of Prince Ariston of Eldoria, a realm once known for its unmatched verdure and scholarly marvels. Eldoria had succumbed to inertia, its libraries now collecting dust and its fields fallow. The people wore resignation like a familiar coat. Yet Prince Ariston, with heart and mind aflame, believed in the heartbeat of his land. Ariston's journey mirrors the historical resurgence seen in civilizations on the brink of oblivion. His path intertwines with the likes of ancient Rome's transformation from republic to a mighty empire under Augustus, the reawakening of cultural and intellectual life during the Renaissance, and the indomitable spirit of the American Revolution forging a new nation. His first heroic act was not with sword, but with empathy and renaissance of thought, redolent of the Enlightenment period, where ideas ignited revolutions across continents. Ariston walked through markets, sat with scholars, and conversed with farmers, seeking to understand before he acted. In this way, he mirrored the leadership of figures like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., who dreamed not just for themselves, but for their people. In his quest, Ariston discovered treasures of forgotten knowledge akin to the rediscovery of classical texts that fueled the Renaissance. He unearthed scrolls of strategy and innovation, treating them as keys to unlocking Eldoria's potential. As Ariston turned study into action, so too did he light the spark of revival within the hearts of his people. His resolve was tested in an era of domestic animosity and foreign threat, reminiscent of Europe's 30 Years' War or China's Warring States period. yet he pursued unity. By diplomacy and wise counsel, Ariston forged alliances much like the union forged by Charlemagne, who united a fractured Europe, guiding his empire into the Carolingian Renaissance. In one courageous effort, Ariston quelled a rebellion not with force but with reconciliation, showcasing a recognition of shared humanity and dignity, an act reflecting Nelson Mandela's leadership during South Africa's transformation. The bravery of the prince stood evident in bringing change through the employment of new technologies and agricultural renaissance, much akin to the agricultural revolution, releasing the land from the shackles of dormancy. The prince's journey also bore allegory to the epic of Gilgamesh and Homer's Odyssey, where the hero's quest was as much about internal awakening as it was about external victory. Similarly, Ariston's journey was one of self-discovery and the rediscovery of a nation's soul. In time, Eldoria awoke from its slumber, vibrant and alive, its people rekindled with hope and opportunity. The once silent cities bustled with trade, innovation, and the arts. Where once lay ruins of potential, now stood mighty edifices of accomplishment. Thus, the brave prince's role mirrors not just the battles and triumphs of the past, but the eternal dance of decay and rejuvenation that all societies endure. It is in the cyclical nature of history that the deeds of these heroes find their place, inspiring generations to forge forward into the unknown with courage and resolve. Much like the story of Prince Ariston, history offers numerous narratives where sleeping empires awaken from within. The tales of these realms, revived by tenacity and ingenuity, serve as testament that no empire truly sleeps forever. They lie dormant, waiting patiently for their brave prince to rise. In the world before the written word, stories were carried through generations by the delicate art of oral communication. This was a time when storytellers were revered as keepers of history, morality, and entertainment. Around the crackling fires and beneath the starlit skies, tales of gods, heroes, and fantastical beings came alive through the embellished words of bards and elders. These stories were more than mere entertainment, they were vessels of culture, shaping the identity of communities across time. One such tale that has traversed centuries, weaving itself into the very fabric of Western tradition, is that of Sleeping Beauty. Its journey from an oral tradition to a written classic, and eventually into iconic imagery, is a vivid illustration of how narratives evolve across different media. The origins of the Sleeping Beauty tale can be traced to various folk stories circulated in Europe's oral tradition. These stories presented a young maiden, often cursed to sleep until awakened by a hero. This archetype resonated with listeners, embedding itself within cultural narratives across villages and towns. Each retelling imbued the tale with unique cultural flavors, ranging from the moralistic tones of medieval Europe to the fairy enchantments of early Renaissance fairs. When storytellers used to narrate the tale orally, they relied heavily on mimetic gestures, vocal intonations, and an evocative use of language to create vivid imagery in the minds of their audience. These performances were believed to invoke magic, with the spoken word serving as a catalyst for communal imagination, transforming simple campfires into arenas of enchantment. As European societies evolved, so did the way stories were recorded. The advent of the printing press in the 15th century eventually facilitated a seismic shift from oral to written traditions. One of the seminal transformations of Sleeping Beauty was chronicled by the Italian poet Giambattista Basile in his collection, Pentamerone, published posthumously in 1634. His version, Sun, Moon, and Thalia, preserved the core narrative but added layers of complexity and moral interpretation. Charles Perrault, another pivotal figure in the transition to written stories, further propagated the tale in printed folklore with his Ella Belle aux Bois Dormant, The Sleeping Beauty in 1697. This version began to introduce the more familiar elements recognizable today, such as the spindle and the fairy godmothers, and most importantly, the moral lesson. For in the echoes of the Enlightenment era, even fairy tales began to be interwoven with instructive motifs. It was the Brothers Grimm, however, who cemented Sleeping Beauty's status as an iconic fairy tale. The 1812 publication of their Grimm's Fairy Tales featured Dornröschen, a rendition that retained the magical slumber yet moved towards a happier conclusion. By immortalizing the narrative in print, the story extended beyond cultural and temporal boundaries, solidifying its place in literary canons worldwide. With the transition from oral tradition to printed word, Sleeping Beauty began to seed itself into the visual arts, emerging alluringly within paintings and theatrical productions. Artists during the Romantic period often depicted serene maidens, caught in the throes of eternal slumber. Their canvases captured not only the stillness of sleep, but also the latent promise of awakening, embodying the essence of hope and renewal which people yearned for in that age. The real transformation in popular consciousness, however, occurred with the evolution of mass visual media. Walt Disney's 1959 animated film Sleeping Beauty brought the story to new soaring heights. Collaborating with the artistic influences of Eyvind Earle, the film created an iconic depiction filled with ethereal landscapes and characters imbued with elegance. Showcasing the magic of animation, Disney's interpretation became a cornerstone of popular culture. The distinctive style and unforgettable characters, such as the malevolent Maleficent, redefined the visual lexicon of Sleeping Beauty. Through vibrant animation, the tale transcended the linear confines of print and language, inhabiting global imagination like never before. The film's widespread success was pivotal in integrating Sleeping Beauty into collective cultural memory. Its imagery resonated so deeply that castles, mimicking the famed animated structure, became intrinsic to Disney's theme parks, further embedding the tale into the everyday scenery experienced by millions. Over the years, adaptations across various media, from ballet to television, and modern, day film reinventions, have continued to nurture the legacy of Sleeping Beauty. Each iteration embellishes the narrative with contemporary sensibilities, ensuring the tale remains dynamic, relevant, and resonant with new generations. Moreover, Sleeping Beauty's transition from oral tradition to visual iconography illustrates the potency of storytelling, the ability to not only encapsulate dreams and fears, but to evolve with them, representing humanity's ever-changing narratives. Its delicate journey across centuries, carried first on the breath of storytellers, then on the pages of books, and finally through evocative visuals, emphasizes how narratives can inspire peace, serve as cultural touchstones, and continue to foster the peaceful realms of imagination where every child can dream. In the annals of human history, narratives of hope have emerged as a consistent beacon amidst the chaos and turmoil of seemingly insurmountable odds. From ancient tales to modern reinterpretations, stories like that of Sleeping Beauty have persisted, symbolizing optimism and the enduring human spirit in the face of adversity. This historiography of hope weaves through the fabric of history, showcasing the resilience and persistence that typifies human endeavors. The origins of Sleeping Beauty can be traced back to varied cultural narratives that center on themes of dormancy and awakening, reflecting a larger archetypal structure present in many mythologies globally. These stories often represent both literal and metaphorical awakening from darkness, oppression, or stagnation into light, liberation, and progress. Take, for instance, the story of Pandora's Box from Greek mythology, a tale that initially seems to paint a picture of inevitable doom, but concludes with the presence of hope as the last remaining element within the box. Despite the unleashed evils, this singular glimmer of hope implies the potential for redemption, transformation, and a new beginning, much like the dormant princess awakened by a powerful kiss. Moving to more historical events, the Siege of Troy, referenced through the archaeological lens of Troy Villa, tells a story fraught with warfare and destruction. Yet, underlying narratives suggest moments of hope and resilience among its people. The city, marked by fire and conflict, still leaves behind clues of human tenacity, signs of life amid chaos, strategies for survival, and evidence of adaptation. Troika, as they call it, was destroyed by fire. You can still see the marks if you look closely: scorched stones, shattered pottery. There are no bodies here, no skeletons left in the doorways, no mass graves. But there are clues: broken slingstones clustered in corners, burned grain still tucked in storage jars, a collapsed wall where someone may have made a last stand or simply tried to escape. This destruction did not signify an end, but rather sowed seeds for new beginnings, echoing the cycle of dormancy and awakening. It is within these ruins that one may find intangible stories of rebirth and the persistent fight against the odds that inspire humanity even today. Similarly, during the Middle Ages, the Black Death swept across Europe, decimating populations and sparking widespread despair. However, amid the tragedy, there arose stories of revival and hope, the rebuilding of societies that eventually led to the Renaissance, a period marked by extraordinary cultural and intellectual rebirth. These episodes illustrate that even in the direst of circumstances, the capability to imagine and pursue a refreshed existence sustains human efforts. In more contemporary times, the civil rights movements across the globe serve as testament to ongoing struggles against pervasive injustices, underscoring that hope is not a passive sentiment, but an active and relentless force for change. Figures like Martin Luther King Jr., armed with the power of words and dreams, echoed the sentiment that, despite immediate barriers, hope forever lights the way to a fair and equitable society. These historical narratives parallel the essence of Sleeping Beauty, narratives where slumber or darkness might dominate, but where the story ultimately champions awakening and enlightenment. The sleeping princess is not merely waiting for a savior, yet she represents the dormant power within, capable of spurring profound change upon awakening. This interpretation extends beyond the fairy tale into modern applications, invoking a message that regardless of present circumstances, there exists a promise of awakening and renewal. From the ruins of the world wars to peaceful revolutions that reshape nations, hope has consistently proven to be the linchpin driving humanity forward. In recognizing this historiography of hope, we learn that much like Sleeping Beauty, civilizations and individuals often face profound sleep, a metaphor for trial, stasis, or seemingly unending hardship. Yet within this sleep lies the seed of potential, a promise of awakening to a brighter future once the prevailing darkness is pierced by the dawn. Thus, history itself serves as a perfect lullaby, a serene and comforting promise that echoes throughout time. Stories of perseverance and the rekindling of spirits, reassuring that the enduring hope shall never fade, only awaken stronger and more vibrant than before. Curses have shadowed human civilization throughout the ages. These curses, often interwoven with myths, legends, and historical truths, have the uncanny ability to echo through time, affecting societies and cultures long after their inception. While individual curses are often explored in literature and folklore, there is a profound aspect to collective curses, those born from social, cultural, and historical foundations that require examination. By looking at history through the lens of these collective burdens, we can gain insight into how humanity has attempted to break free from their grasp. Consider the Curse of Troy, symbolizing the endless cycles of war and destruction inflicted upon a civilization caught in the tides of history. The story of Troy is not merely about a city besieged, but an emblem of how societies are condemned to repeat the mistakes of their ancestors. As humanity progresses, echoes of Troy can be seen in how nations struggle to find peace amidst repeated conflicts driven by pride, revenge, and the hunger for power. In ancient Rome, the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire were often perceived as a curse of hubris and internal betrayal. The echoes of this curse can be traced to modern political systems teetering between democracy and autocracy, where the promise of power often overshadows the commitment to the public. Colonization is another collective curse carried through time. The tales and truths of colonized lands are replete with stories of exploitation, suffering, and devaluation of indigenous cultures. The cultural fragmentation and socio-economic disparities seen in former colonies today are echoes of this curse, manifesting in ongoing struggles for equality, identity, and justice. The persistent pursuit of societal and cultural autonomy is humanity's attempt to break this curse and heal the wounds inflicted over centuries. Likewise, curses rooted in societal structures, such as those based on race and gender, continue to manifest in modern contexts. Slavery, segregation, and systemic racism have left indelible marks on societies worldwide. The efforts to confront and dismantle these curses are seen in movements advocating for racial equality and justice, a testament to humanity's resilience and determination to liberate itself from historical injustices. Gender-based curses also find their voices in history. The struggle for gender equality, deeply entrenched due to long-standing patriarchal systems, echoes the curses of inequality. From the suffrage movements to contemporary feminist movements, these echoes remind us how the past can shape present challenges yet also influence the drive for progress. Cultural curses are particularly insidious, as they often perpetuate themselves through unexamined traditions and social norms. The friction between cultural preservation and adaptation can curse societies to either cling to obsolete practices or wholly lose valuable heritage. The global rise of cultural exchange and the emphasis on multiculturalism represent an attempt to navigate this, preserving what is enriching while progressing toward universal human rights. The haunting of historical curses prompts humanity to strive for redemption, transformation, and renewal. Through education, remembrance, and active efforts toward reconciliation, societies seek to learn from the past and craft a future unshackled from bygone burdens. These stories of human resilience and agency remind us of the collective endeavor to not only survive, but thrive beyond the shadows of curses carried through time. In the quiet echoing chambers of history, tales and legends merge with the soft contours of human experience, weaving a tapestry that is as enchanting as it is mysterious. Of Reflections in the Mirror darkly invites us to peer into the shadows of stories long told, to understand the nuanced facets of beauty, fate, and redemption that haunt human nature. Consider the ancient tale of Sleeping Beauty, a story that transcends the simplistic narrative of a princess slumbering in eternal beauty until love's kiss awakens her. This narrative speaks to the core of human nature, reflecting our ceaseless fascination with beauty, doom, and the possibility of redemption. In Sleeping Beauty, the protagonist is ensnared in a curse that causes her to sleep for 100 years. It is a tale woven with the threads of destiny and inevitability. Yet, what is it about this tale that has captured our imaginations across generations? Perhaps it is the symbolism of the eternal sleep, a peaceful, untroubled slumber that suggests an escape from the chaos of life. History, too, offers periods of such stillness, moments when events unfold or pause with a serene inevitability. This reflection on history as a peaceful narrative perfect for sleeping is a double-edged sword. While we yearn for history to be devoid of strife, the reality is often tumultuous and fraught with change. Yet, in the retelling, in the softening of its blows through stories, we find a sort of solace. Just as Sleeping Beauty's slumber offers an escape, so too do the stories we craft about our past allow us to idealize and find peace in the chaos. The perpetual fascination with beauty within these tales speaks not only to aesthetic allure, but to a deeper appreciation of inner beauty and virtue. Beauty, in many ways, is a reflection of harmony, of balance found amidst the disorder. The heroine's beauty is untouched by time, maintaining its luster through her slumber. This immutable beauty suggests a kind of purity, an ideal state that remains unaffected by the world around it. Yet, beauty in these narratives is also intertwined with doom. The curse that places Sleeping Beauty in her protracted sleep is a harbinger of inevitable misfortune. In life, beauty often stands on the precipice of ruin, a fleeting element surrounded by the ever-looming presence of time and decay. In stories, beauty and doom are linked, urging us to contemplate the transient nature of our own lives. Redemption is the final thread in this complex tapestry. The awakening of Sleeping Beauty symbolizes hope and renewal, reflecting our deep-seated belief in the possibility of redemption and transformation. It is this hopeful expectation of a brighter awakening that drives us to retell these stories. It reassures us that despite the doom that beauty may bring, there is a possibility for a new beginning where history can be peaceful, rewritten, and perfect for dreaming. In summation, the reflections in these mirrored narratives tell us as much about the human condition as they do about the stories themselves. We are reminded that our fascination with beauty, doom, and redemption is a mirror of our own lives, a reflection of our hopes, fears, and the ceaseless passage of time. Like the archaeological remnants of Troy Viac, destroyed yet etched with narratives, we continue to search for meaning in the ashes, discovering redemption in the pieces we salvage from the past. In recent years, the tale of Sleeping Beauty has undergone significant reinterpretation, revealing fresh perspectives and uncovering hidden depths within this age-old narrative. Once a simple story about a cursed princess doomed to slumber until awakened by true love's kiss, modern retellings have expanded upon this premise to explore complex themes and the inner motives of its characters. These adaptations invite us to question the narratives we choose to uphold and the truths behind them. One such retelling introduces us to Aurora, not as a passive princess awaiting rescue, but as a powerful figure in her own right. In this version, Aurora is aware of her curse from an early age, and she harnesses this knowledge to study the magic that binds her fate. Her journey becomes one of empowerment and defiance as she seeks to understand the origins of her curse and the shadowy figure known as Maleficent, who cast it. Maleficent, typically depicted as a straightforward villain, gains nuanced motives in these modern interpretations. Her actions are revealed to stem from betrayal and deep-rooted grievances against the royal family. Rather than a singular act of vengeance, her curse is portrayed as a desperate attempt for justice, a misguided method of reclaiming agency over her own narrative. Through Maleficent's eyes, we witness a tale of loss and a quest for redemption. The reimagining of Sleeping Beauty also delves into the perspectives of secondary characters, such as the three good fairies. Traditionally portrayed as benevolent guardians, modern adaptations recast them as complex figures, each with their own hidden agendas and backstories. Their interference in Aurora's life raises questions about the ethics of magic and manipulation. Are their actions truly for Aurora's benefit, or do they serve a larger, undisclosed purpose? Similarly, the role of Prince Philip is re-examined. Rather than the heroic savior, he becomes a reluctant participant in a legacy fraught with obligation and tradition. Haunted by the realization that Aurora's fate, and his role in it, are dictated by forces beyond their control, he grapples with questions of free will and destiny. His journey is not about slaying dragons, but about understanding and breaking the chains of preordained narratives. Through these reinterpretations, Sleeping Beauty transforms from a simplistic tale of enchantment into a rich tapestry of interconnected stories, each character a thread weaving a larger picture of power, choice, and consequence. By exploring these themes, modern retellings encourage us to critically reflect on the stories we choose to preserve and the societal values they perpetuate. In conclusion, the enduring appeal of Sleeping Beauty lies not in its original form, but in its capacity for reinvention. As storytellers continue to breathe new life into this classic tale, they illuminate the hidden facets of its characters and cast light on the truths we have long overlooked. The history of Sleeping Beauty, much like our own, should indeed be peaceful, perfect for dreaming, but always vibrant with dynamism and